Prepared to comment. Religious groups are calling it Judgment Day.
It's vital that you stay in your homes.
Oi!
Shaun.
Oh.
1, 2.
I'm taking a shortcut before. Purple Rain? No. Sign of the Times?
Definitely not. The Batman soundtrack.
Throw it.
Oh! Ed!
2 seconds.
And hold it there.
The only thing that will redeem mankind is cooperation.
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh man, even the intro makes me laugh for those. All of them.
Dude, for real, same.
Oh, how you doing today, buddy?
Oh, dude, I'm doing good. It was cold. I put a hoodie on while the intro was going. I completely forgot I didn't have one on. I was fucking freezing for some reason.
I mean, you're a zombie cat today, so that's probably why you're cold.
Oh yeah, it's true.
I also have a zombie avatar. I will show everybody, but I'm going to be going video today, so I will just show everybody what my zombie avatar looks like till we bring everybody in at least.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Well, I guess let's bring in some people. I guess I don't know. I guess first we'll say hi to the chat, right? That's how.
Hi, chat. Hi, everybody. Happy Halloween from the two hosts. Halloween, best holiday of the year. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
That's just because nobody outside of America and Canada has Thanksgiving, which is the best holiday in my opinion.
Yes, just eating.
Just eating all day. Yeah. So I guess we'll bring in our old friends and new friends because I don't know. I don't know 2/3 of these people, so I'm just gonna make stuff up.
Let's do it, man.
At first, I knew him from the comment section and the chat section of Mr. Brown Alliance, and I didn't even really know he had a channel until recently. So it's really good to get a chance to stream with him. And that's it says Jay Darkness, but it's Jay Goodwin. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. You know, it's quite an honor to be with a big streaming star like Joe Rogaine.
Joe Rogaine. The Rogaine is working. I mean, I don't know. My hairline's coming back, man.
Is it? I think it's just your back hair climbing up over, your
it's
head.
weird. Sometimes when I wear my headset, if it sits here, it makes it look like because I have a very flat head, so it slowly slides forward.
So it makes it look like your hairline is actively receding as your headphones
it makes
are
it look like
moving
it's receding as it goes along.
Oh, if you watch some of the movies we do on B-sides, your hairline will actually actively recede while you're watching it.
I
trust me.
Stories.
Trust me, it will. I went from dreadlocks to bald, basically.
So how you doing today, Jay?
I'm doing good. We had an interesting stream last night. YouTube decided for some reason, like in the middle of it, to community strike. And then
that's been happening to a lot of people recently. I've had a couple of people tell me that's happened to them, and I'm not sure if they're tightening up on certain protocols or something. I'm not really sure, but
I think their bots have kind of run amok. That they're being aggressive in matching, and they're getting false positives, and then just auto striking. But,
exactly.
We'll see what happens. We were able to bring up another stream and then do about 3 hours, so it worked out. And poor Vex Electronica, who was on with us last night, I think she's still broken. I hope she's under warranty.
She's Canadian. They don't have warranties up there. They just
no, it's true. Yeah. She'll be at the main station.
Jedi Brooks just flipped me off from the back, so I think I got to bring him in now to defend Canada. Actually, well, here he is. I don't have anything to say. He's not a Padawan. He's a Jedi. Jedi Brooks. There you go. That's the best you got from me.
No, I didn't even know you could see me back here. There we go.
Oh yeah, I can see you on the bottom. I saw you flipping me off.
Defending my homeland.
I had something about Jedi. I had a long thing thought of, and I completely forgot it while you flipped me off.
I think Drinker is a really cool guy. He's given a lot of smaller YouTubers opportunity, and me and Dark Hour were 1 week apart.
Yes, so, we missed each other by literally a week. It was
one of those things too. And
since then, your channel has grown immensely, and mine has practically stayed the same size. So
don't think of it that way. You and I've told you this before, where you can't focus on the numbers. It's just one of those things. You really can't. I'm
focusing on the haters right now. My last video was getting haters.
Don't focus on those either.
I like it. I love it. I love to tear holes in their arguments. It's fantastic.
It's addicting. It's addicting just seeing the response, but like you can't get stuck in it. Just focus.
No, I do it for like a half hour, and then I'm like, I'm done. It's like,
no.
So how you doing today, Brooksy?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I fucking love this movie. It was so fun to rewatch it because anytime you do like any type of breakdown, you know you have to rewatch it just like almost as homework. So it's like, okay, let me get this over with. Then you start it up, and you remember why you're doing it in the first place. It's so good, so well paced. So many great things. One of the best things about that movie is like the jokes that you forget. Like, oh my, yeah. Because you have the big ones in mind, but like you realize
we'll get to those eventually. Though.
Oh, right, no spoilers. No spoilers.
We do have one more person that we have to bring in. You know,
I didn't forget about him.
Yeah,
the AI.
Yeah. Well, if you're, a lot of people call him the Dark Sith Lord Short. So the fact that we have Jedi Brooks and the Dark Sith Lord on is, I don't know if that's going to work.
Mr. AI.
And Mr. AI himself, Little Platoon.
Evening all.
There we go.
Dark
Evening, Platoon.
Platoon today.
Nice to finally meet you, dude.
Likewise. If George Lucas directs this, though, then we're going to have a 3-hour long fight scene, like lava, and it will go on and on and on, and everyone will how amazing it is.
But if it's produced by Disney, you guys will fall in love by the end for some reason. So
fuck's sake.
But one of us will be made a woman and gay, so
if Dave Filoni directs it, it'll take about an hour for you to actually get close enough to fight, just because of the slow movement.
Fucking shit dialogue. Yeah, don't get me started on Ahsoka. Yeah. Bring that up. We're here to talk about zombies. Don't bring up that terrible plank.
We're here to talk about good shit, not bullshit. Exactly.
So how you doing today, Platoon?
I'm all right, thank you. I have a slight cold, so if I'm slightly deeper voice than usual, then you can blame the bug. But otherwise, all good. Thank you very much.
It will only help our stream if you're slightly deeper voiced. The ASMR will kick in. People will slowly lull into watching it and just leave it running the whole time. It'd be great.
It's crazy because Platoon's voice when he's sick is it's nice and charming. My voice, I'm currently sick. All I do is cough, which is why I mute myself every like 10 seconds.
I mean, that's because you have like a combo accent, so it's like it just does. It's like you have like a Ghanese French accent. It doesn't really.
Yeah, it's a big mix.
Doesn't really work very well.
I like it.
I didn't realize that colds differentiated based on accents as to how they affected your voice.
Well, he's also a cat too. So.
Well, that's feline.
Coughing up fur balls now.
Coughing up fur balls. But yeah, so I guess everybody's in. Like, I guess we'll get into this, and I'll start with everybody's background with the film. You know, first time you saw it, what you remember from the first time. Start with Jay. Go that route.
So I did not see this in the theater. I'm pretty sure that I was on IRC with some guys that I worked with in California, and one of them was like, "Dude, you've got to see this. This is hilarious." And so I ended up renting it and watching it. And was like, "Oh, I'm buying this as soon as it comes out." And I watch it. I don't know, every couple of years probably. In fact, my wife and I just watched it a couple of months ago, and we were going through like the reactions of people and how there's a certain accuracy to the psychology of what's going on, even though it's intended to be a comedy and there's a lot of comedic bits. The progression of them, first recognizing something's wrong, but you still revert to what you're familiar to and normal things, and then as the realization of what's going on starts impacting you get more and more out of your comfort zone. You start having to engage with the reality, no matter how absurd and unfamiliar it is to you.
Yeah. Oh man, Shaun of the Dead is fucking great. I don't think anyone here is going to say it's bad. I hope not.
No.
And my wife is very appreciative of the use of Queen in the fight scenes.
I'm convinced that there's like some sort of bylaw that every British movie must play that song. It seems like that what is it, Good Times or whatever, it seems like every movie I've ever seen that's made in England, it just it has that for some reason.
I mean, technically in this movie they kill the Queen, so foreshadowing. The best thing Shaun of the Dead is good at, foreshadowing.
Yeah, so Brooksy, what's your background with the film?
One of the big issues I have with comedy is the lack of replayability. Like everything I watch, I watch it like hoping that it's good enough to rewatch, and it's hard to do with comedies because like all the the punchlines, the big jokes and whatnot. You don't have that problem with these movies in the Cornetto trilogy. They're some of the best written comedies I've ever seen. And I remember watching it when it originally came out and just praising it for like one of my favorite trailers. I remember having the confidence to reveal some of your good jokes, give us the good setup for the film, but still have so much more to like enjoy. Where a lot of trailers nowadays, they just give you everything. And it's just like there's not much more to like work with after that. And it's one of the movies I'd reference for like some of the best blendings of tone. Like being able to get the horror element with the comedy element is really difficult. And just the performances and everyone really on board with the project, fully committed. Fucking love this movie. And it's one of my favorite zombie movies. But like I was saying, I try to separate it from that because I just
don't
feel like
use the Z word. Don't use the Z word. It's not a zombie movie.
Yeah, I think it's there's so much to learn from this movie, both setup and payoff, and like there's even though it's hilarious, there's still a lot of like really meaningful moments in it too. So yeah, I plenty of good things to say about it.
I agree. Yep. And now for the remainder of the stream, we'll just allow Platoon to tell us what he likes about this film. Actually, you weren't originally supposed to be on this stream. You were like, oh, you're doing that one? I want on, and I was like, of course you're allowed. So
well, was this all? I can't even remember what the other one was. Was it Dodgeball? I think it was.
Yeah, that was a request from somebody. Actually,
I still don't think I've ever seen Dodgeball.
Oh my god! I thought I was the only one.
It's fine.
I've started it probably 2 or 3 times, and I think I've found other more interesting things to do. So yeah, but Shaun of the Dead, on the other hand, because it comes out in that great period. Is it 2004? This film comes out. Yeah. So from that period of film is basically I do not remember it not being in my life. So I don't think I would have seen it in the cinema, but I would have seen it pretty much as soon as it came out. And it's one of those that I don't see very often, but every time it comes on, it's a nice little warm moment, little smile on the face. It's the good time of year for it as well. It's just, yeah, it is a classic of the genre. It's low budget and it's faithful to what passes for its source material. There's a lot of good old mainstay things that make all zombie films successful in it. Like you can tell that they watched a huge amount of the older classics, the Dead series and all the rest of that. For the way, the way they build it up with, that vague sense that though the world is already a bit weird, there is something especially weird about the world today. And then over time that builds to this, the revelation that actually everybody is rising from the dead and everyone's going to die. It's just nice and charming. I don't think it's my favorite of the trilogy. That's probably Hot Fuzz. I think Hot Fuzz is just about a better film. But it depends really on the mood. So this time of year, then Shaun of the Dead will come back on TV and I'll have a good time.
I think Shaun of the Dead was like the testing grounds, like the rough draft, and then they mastered it.
Was that the first one that came out? I don't remember.
It was Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and then World's End.
Yeah.
I think Shaun of the Dead. You can see all the elements that made Hot Fuzz just like almost perfect. The way that, like everything that they accomplished.
We'll probably do that one eventually too. By the way, we'll probably do all 3 of them at some point.
That's why
the
I think
3
really
Flavors Cornetto trilogy is probably, if it was an actual trilogy, it'd probably be one of the greatest trilogies of all time.
Yeah, people treat it that way.
It's a trilogy in the loosest of senses.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess Uninspired, you're next.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I watched Shaun of the Dead was a while back. I think it was 2013. I remember it vividly because one of the first movies that I had ever watched online after getting my first computer was The World's End in 2013, and I fell in love with that movie. So I was like, you know what? There's a trilogy. Fuck yes. So we got Shaun of the Dead, and man, I adore Shaun of the Dead with all my heart. It's my favorite zombie film, and I just think that it's almost perfect. I feel like you can just tell that they're so enthusiastic to make the movie behind the scenes, and so it shines on screen so much. You can tell that these are people who are not only masters of their craft, but incredibly passionate about the story that they're trying to tell, and it just comes off so well, especially when you put that in contrast with what we have today, where it's just like soulless bullshit. So yeah, Shaun of the Dead, it was a great rewatch for this. I watched it twice this week, and man, can't wait to talk about it. So what about you, Dark Hour?
Yeah, this is the first time I'd seen the movie in quite a while. I think I was probably at the same age you are right now, Uninspired, when I saw it, and I remember liking it a lot back then. It was one of those things I never really rewatched it for some reason. I don't know why. And when I rewatched it this time around, it was just as good as as I remembered it being. I agree 100% with Jay. It's one of the most realistic takes on a zombie apocalypse of all time. It's like, you know, it would take a little while for people to kind of figure out what the hell was going on. A lot of times these movies, everyone immediately knows, the government descends immediately within like, you know, the first 20 minutes of the movie. It's like that kind of stuff doesn't happen here. And you know, there's obviously it's mostly a comedy. You know, I would say it's 90% comedy.
Yeah, romantic comedy. Came out on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, with a little bit of a romantic comedy with horror elements, but never really. The only thing that is actually scary is the thought process of possibly dying alone in a pub. You know, that's like that's like the only thing that's really but there are
scary. That's the ideal way to go.
So yes. Go out alone in a pub.
Alone in a pub, sad and regretful.
I still think they understand elements of suspense enough to make brief moments of tension. Nothing scary, but like
they don't
there's
really do
there's
like
tiny moments of tension that they try to, you know, incorporate.
The one thing, so a lot of times, you know, with horror films, they try to have those moments of levity, a comedy bit, just to kind of offset the horror aspects. They kind of do the opposite here. They have the comedy as the through line.
That's a good way to put it.
Occasionally they'll have a tense moment or a very like sad moment to offset it and make the comedy better. And that's the thing that of like I took out of it that hasn't already, everything else I wanted to say has already been said, which is fine. I'm used to that. I'm usually the last one to go in these, so I'm just like I'll just let everybody else do the talking for me. But the that was one thing when I was rewatching it. I just watched it last night, and I was like, yeah, there's just moments here where it's like I was just laughing, and now I feel really down. And then I'm laughing again, so it kind of it breaks up the laugh track, so to say.
But unlike fucking Marvel, it gives you a chance to actually appreciate, you know, the tension for a second. They don't just blend it all together, and you have no idea what you're supposed to feel. They give you a moment. Like I think the best, you know what, we'll wait for it. But there's a lot of examples for sure.
And the one thing.
There's a spectrum of the emotions, right? It really covers the gamut, but also it doesn't jar you from one to another, right? There's almost always a build into
that's what
the change in tone, and then an exit that's also equally smooth.
The transition between tone and the opportunity to sit with each one and actually appreciate it before we move on. That's what they had. I think that's one of the best things this movie does. Where Marvel just it's a blender.
One last thing that I really appreciate is almost every single detail that they mention isn't wasted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like things they say in the beginning that just seem like they're throwaway lines, they mean something down the line.
It's incredible.
And that's always a great. I love whenever a movie can do that, where they take something, because it helps, like you were saying, Brooksy, like the rewatchability when like you watch it the second time or the third time or the fourth time, and you're like, oh wait, that happened. They mentioned that now, and it happens later. It really does.
Finding go ahead.
Nuggets, like little nuggets of stuff that you didn't notice the first time.
Seeing the setups for things that you know are going to come, where it's like, oh, that was there the entire time. It's just like it's super.
I mean, obviously the big one is the Winchester rifle, but there's a bunch of them. You know,
no, there's so many. Like there's even one I didn't notice for the first time between him and his girlfriend Liv. I'll try to point it out when it comes up.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, before we start, just to bounce back on what Dark Hour were saying about how it treats itself as a comedy and a romantic comedy first, it's like that's a common problem that there is in the horror genre, since zombie is like a subgenre of horror. So the common problem that there is in the horror genre is that they try and make horror movies as opposed to making a drama that is surrounded by a horror movie. And that's where so many fail. And that's why we have so many bullshit jump scare filled horror movies instead of actual great horror movies. I mean, you look at all the best horror films, even zombie films, especially Train to Busan, you know, it's a drama where all the dramatic elements and all the elements of conflict are set up before the zombie apocalypse, just so that when you have that element of the zombie apocalypse that just comes, it stretches everything to its limit and creates the perfect storm for an incredible script, you know?
They forget the character element. They forget to actually create a story. And like I could talk for an hour on that particular subject of how like they just try to abuse the aspects of horror that are like superficial, the jump scares, all the nonsense, like the CGI monsters and shit. When some of the simplest things can be just someone in the corner creeping around, like just the littlest things in horror can be the creepiest, and just understanding how to be subtle It drives me
No,
nuts.
there's a
how,
specific part that,
you know?
that I want to mention later that is in line with what you just said, but I do want to get to the actual film. Let's do that.
Yeah, do it up.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, two hosts present Shaun of the Dead for Halloween. So happy Halloween to everyone in the chat. Happy Halloween to everyone on the panel as well. And let's get to it. So, of course, you've got Shaun at the pub with Liz, basically just stressed out and suffering.
Opening shot. So
the
perfect.
1,000-yard stare. And,
There's two things like from just the opening scene, but the pub in general that automatically made me like the film. The first is that you're still allowed to smoke inside. That's good. I like that. Fuck you, Tony Blair. Go away. And then they have a lock-in later, and lock-ins are great. If you've never been to a lock-in in a British pub, I recommend it because then you can smoke inside because you're already breaking the law.
I've never been to a British pub before, so I don't know.
I mean,
I do remember when they took smoking out of bars, and like it was a massive transition for people. Like you just want to be able to unwind and have your routine. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I probably wasn't born by then.
I'm an asthmatic, so I'm actually pro taking away that right, but that's just me. So
all right, so yeah, so
I know I hate freedom. I'm sorry.
You do. So you got Shaun and Liz at the pub with Ed in the back, and man, this conversation is just sets the tone of the entire movie and how quick and reactive you have to be when watching the film. Because you've got Shaun and Liz saying, "Oh, I wish we could just." Then you hear Ed at the back, "Fuck," like
cock it.
Just great things like this. And so the conflict here is that you've got Liz that wants to spend more time with Shaun alone, and she's always forced to bring in David and Diane, who are her friends, because Shaun always brings Ed as a third wheel, and she needs Shaun to have a new outlook on life, which, of course, I could understand, man. If I was in her situation, fuck, I'd be sad going to the Winchester every day, but. Man, Winchester is fun. You also get that added detail of the bartender. I think his name is John. You also get the added detail of him saying that it's a last call. So you can tell that they've been here a while and that they're always here a while. It's just good little elements that you get. And man, Shaun is just
that stare.
That is the stare I generally have when I'm at work every day. I can't believe I'm here again.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to point out just about that scene is it gives you so much about the approach that they're taking from the beginning, like how much you learn about every character and how quickly you learn about them, the scene transitions they use to introduce Ed and the friends, and just the style of like, the setup of like not even having them there. It just works as a joke like perfectly, and then also introducing the characters, and you just get everything. The guy being like a hater, what's his name, Daft,
David.
I can't remember. David, David.
Yeah, they call him Daft.
And
but
it's just so smooth in terms of like the way they just give you everything that you need, all the pieces from the beginning.
Yeah,
I also love how it's always seems to be in like real life or in a show movie. It's always a guy named Ed. It's always just a dude named Ed is just the one who's tagging along.
That's true. Yeah, it's true.
So it just has a name of like that you could use. It's just such a common name, one syllable, Ed.
Yeah,
and this intro is so charming. Like there's just I don't
Wait,
even
before we move on, everybody's got to get their
say
intro. This is very important. The intro.
That face.
Platoon. What was your opinion of the intro?
Much as has been said, but I think the only thing I'd add is that the thing that really does make the film so appealing is how almost oppressively normal absolutely everyone and everything is. Like you don't look at any of these characters and say, yeah, he's obviously going to be the hero of the piece. I can see him running around with a gun blowing stuff up. He's the Bruce Wayne of the thing. Bruce Wayne or Bruce oh god, fucking cold. Die Hard. Bruce
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, I mean
Bruce somebody.
Bruce Wayne with a gun.
I am bad with names at the best of times.
He's the bald Bruce guy.
They're all very relatable.
Yeah, the relatability is the key point, and the oppressive aspect of it is that because everything is so very normal, he is being essentially chewed out by his girlfriend for not spending more time. She is too ambitious for him. He is effectively like the deadbeat, nobody going nowhere. And he kind of is the hero of the piece by the end, so there's a bit of a payoff to that. But it automatically makes the film understandable to almost any person who was born and bred in the United Kingdom from like 1990 onwards, because this is just life for most people.
I mean, technically, I was born in Ghana, so I mean, technically, I am British a bit.
Throw him in there.
So I just want to point out that this guy right, the dude right in the middle, the worst
tall guy or
the short black guy. That's got to be the worst extra. He's looking right into the camera. You're not supposed to do that as an extra.
That guy behind him, I think, is the one who bites Barbara.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, yeah. That's one thing I wanted to
setups.
say actually about these slides. That's why I kind of like went back into them. Like she's the one who ends up in the backyard.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's Mary.
Everybody, you see everybody here. The first 5 to 10 minutes basically tells you. It lays out everything. It's like an essay.
Yeah.
It lays out what it's going to do for the rest of the movie.
I don't think I've ever noticed that Mary part. And one of my comments was going to be how much I feel like everyone from the side characters down to the extras was so committed and on board with the project. And just
the extras all came back for the entire Cornetto trilogy. All the extras that you see here are the same extras that you see in Hot Fuzz and the same extras you see in The World's End, especially.
That's crazy. I love Mike Flanagan, how he does that, and knowing that he does that too.
There's a lot of directors who do that. I mean, like
I do like that.
Nolan does it.
Tarantino does it.
Tarantino.
I do like when they do that, especially if they're working with talented people like Tarantino.
Once you trust actors, once you have a group of actors you could trust, and you're just going to throw them into everything.
Yeah. I think I'd be the same way.
You know, one thing about these opening shots and the kind of the banality of the lives that everyone's leading is there's an inherent mindlessness to everything that they're doing, and that kind of hints at they're already like part of the way to being zombies, and why it takes a bit for everybody to recognize when there's an outbreak, because just staring there, with your lids half, open, checking people out or whatever. If you replace that with a zombie and you're just walking by and not paying attention, I don't know that you necessarily notice a difference.
Yeah, it's kind of the point that they try to pay that off at the end of the film when the zombies take over all the low-skilled manual jobs. So the old guy you see pushing the shopping trolleys in the supermarket is actually replaced by the zombie at the end. So we're making pensioners unemployed, which is good, because they deserve their retirement. But I think the one word in defense of the guy staring directly at the camera, I think that's probably the deliberate choice to convey the mindlessness. Werner Herzog used to say that there's nothing quite so terrifying in life as staring into the eyes of a chicken, because the chicken has such a deficit of intelligence. It's like looking into a void. It is the most mindless of creatures, and that makes it terrifying to him. I think that's kind of what you're getting. It's supposed to unnerve you a bit, like he is dead staring you. He's already brainless, and that works because you've got the eye contact. It's eerie and slightly uncanny.
And it also echoes Simon Pegg's 1,000-yard stare as they switch to these, when he's sitting in the pub.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's what Romero tried to do with this Dead trilogy, all the social commentary and stuff like that. But I do think the Shaun of the Dead nailed it better, because he tried doing this in Dawn of the Dead specifically, not Night of the Living Dead. And I just feel like Shaun of the Dead does it so much better in such little time because of the extras and how good they are. I mean, these are the crackheads that Pete talks about, that he says he got mugged later on. And so that's why they're all walking like this. So it's like, even though they said
a crackhead, it's such a great line.
That guy, he nails every scene he's in. He only has like 3 lines.
He's only in like 3 or 4 scenes, and they're all great.
Good. He's so
and
good.
half of them he doesn't speak in.
He's so good.
Dude, it's as if they didn't even try and even like give him a proper character name, because his real name is Peter in real life. So they were just
do that a lot with minor characters that need to be addressed by their name. It's like because a lot of times in the script they'll just be like, roommate or something, or man one, and it's like, but if they have to go by their name, they'll just use the person's real name. So
there's no need for it.
Yeah. Yep. And
he actually goes on to play Darth Maul. He's the voice of Darth Maul.
Really? Is he?
Yeah,
he is indeed. Yeah.
Well, somebody at Gord King actually just said that as you said it. That was like perfect timing.
The same wave.
Oh man, I never knew that. And so Pete confronts Shaun, and so this is where we already set up the back door continuously being open, because that's the first thing he chews him out about. And he says that the front door is always open, and he wants Ed to move out, which, I mean, it's completely understandable from his point of view, because he's basically just a normal dude, as opposed to Shaun. Shaun is a bit of he is a normal dude, but he's just someone who's too much in his comfort zone. That's the issue with Shaun. And so the fact of leaving his comfort zone is what terrifies him the most, which is why he keeps Ed around too. And as Pete says later on, he does keep Ed around because I bet you Shaun feels a bit better about himself having someone lesser than him continuously around him, you know?
Someone who's
Okay.
more of a
It's
loser than you
probably-
are.
There's also there are two poles. Pete
Yeah.
is fully embraced adulthood in
Yes.
all of both its positives and negatives. Ed is stuck perennially as a teenager, and Shaun is pulled between those two, so he's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, Shaun just has Liz that's trying to anchor him down into actual adulthood, but he just can't because Ed is anchoring him on the other side. So
Yeah, he's being pulled
Man.
both ways. This scene that you stopped it on, this snapshot, just summarizes everything, like right here. And everyone knows, like a friend from high school or whatever, that just is still stuck in that mentality. They're still like 17, and they just can't make that transition to that next phase of life, and it's frustrating. That's why this character is. You go ahead.
I was even about to say you can even go as far as like to see the lighting and how it is that Pete is completely in the shadows. It's like the looming threat of adulthood right there, trying to go to Shaun.
There's so much to say about this one scene. Like, it's crazy. The lighting, like the dirt, the nasty table. But like, yeah, it just sucks. It's frustrating, and it's like you don't know what the right words is to get it to click in their head.
Is this this is right after the scene where he gets up, he walks to he sits down, picks up the controller, and it's like player 2 has entered the game. It's like, don't you have to go to work?
Near that,
Player 2 has left the game.
That's perfect. Just the delivery.
I think literally everybody has done that at some point in their life, whether it be a game or a movie or whatever. You start something, and you're like, shit, I can't actually do this. What am I doing? Like, I have to go.
It happens to me so often. And yeah, so we get the setup also of Ed having a call of being a drug dealer. It's like, yeah, you got anything on you, mate? No, got nothing. Well, my British accent is shit, by the way, so don't call me out for it.
Well, luckily for us, there's the most British person that I've ever met on this stream. If we need a British accent, just look no further than the bottom of this panel. So.
I feel there's a slight class divide between myself and Ed, which might be hard to overcome. But...
Yeah, I mean, Platoon and Ed both get the N-word pass, so it's pretty cool, you know.
And they both probably have T-shirts to say "I got wood."
I got wood.
Oh yeah,
that's where he has that on the movie.
That would change my vision of Platoon so much if he was just sitting there in a shirt that says "I've got wood," but like, you know, his avatar is all prim and proper, and meanwhile he's got this like ridiculous T-shirt on. That changes a lot of things for me.
Actually, sadly I do not have an "I got wood" shirt. I might need to get myself one. I do have one that just says "no."
When you come to the United States, Platoon, I'll have one ready for you. I'll just present it to you. I'll be like, here's your "I got wood" shirt. I'll do it right in the airport. Be very strange.
Thank you.
I mean, weirdly enough, I have a T-shirt that says "I shaved my balls for this," and I literally walk around everywhere with it. It's so funny because you see people's reactions. They're like, "What the fuck, man?"
That's like, even funnier when you consider the fact that we always call you a cat. We just assume that you got fixed.
Oh yeah, and yeah. So after this scene, you've got Pete telling Ed to take down all the voicemails, basically, since at that time, 2004, you had voicemail that was with everyone in the house. You had landline phones. Platoon gets his N-word pass from me. Copa has one too. Copa, yours expires on the 31st of December.
So here's the uninspired hands those things out like they're candy on Halloween.
Just handing them out.
He seriously does. He's just like, this one goes. I told him to take mine back. I don't want it. I was like, no, I don't. No.
So I've got the F-word pass and the N-word pass. I'm trying to think which one I now need to complete the set.
The C word.
C-word pass.
Yeah.
I think Vex has that one at the moment. I might need to
Vex,
trade.
Yeah,
Vex, I believe, owns the trademark
yeah.
on that. Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that she's the only one that has any of the passes for that one at this point. I've never heard anybody use it as much as her.
Yeah, she's got all the passes, and yeah, so he tells him to, what does he say? He says, is it easy to write it on a little scrap of paper?
He was like, make sure you write down the note, like if you can clean up a little bit since you're not going to work, and make sure you actually write down other people's messages, not just your own. Like, he just basically highlights that he's a dick. Like, you get the whole dynamic of the
Well, no, it's that he doesn't. It's not that he's a dick. He's just
no. That Ed is a dick. Like, Ed is a complete. If you're literally taking only your own messages.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. He's not. No, I'm saying that Ed isn't a dick. He's just absent-minded. He doesn't really. He's not maliciously. To be a dick requires that you're maliciously doing something.
He's This was malicious.
Specifically
to Pete. He's a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean,
literally
they kind of have like a
me.
dynamic of not liking each other. So.
Well, again, I mean, Ed is the teenager, and so he's rebelling against authority and adulthood, and also that Ed, everything he does is he's intensely selfish as children are. That everything is about him, everything revolves around him, and the only thing that's important are his messages. Everybody else, whatever, and just skip, right? And so it's just all about him.
Yeah,
But
and it's only when Shaun asks him, like, can you
Yeah.
do it for me, for Shaun? Because that's when he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
He asked, even before that, he asked him to just do it straight up. And he's like, no, I'm not doing anything for the prick. He's like, okay, do it for me then. And I just feel like that sums up their relationship right there. He's an immature, like, man-child, but he's still Sean's, like, he still loves Shaun. He'll do whatever he needs to for him if he asks.
Right, because Shaun again straddles both worlds. Right, he's halfway between being the teenager and being the adult.
Pulled both ways, and he plays it really well.
I recall. I mean, I'm not that much further because I think he says he's 29. Which
29.
I think Simon Pegg was
29.
older than that at the time, but like I remember like my late 20s. It wasn't that long ago, and it does have that feeling of like you have to kind of decide whether or not you want to be an adult for real. You know, like you're an adult on paper, and you could go and rent a car or like book a hotel room and do all these things you couldn't do before, but you still have to consciously make the decisions to do the things you don't want to do, and that's kind of where he's at.
Yeah, the age isn't everything. Like you can be like in your late 20s and still like function as a child. Like, and you can
I'll see in 8 years.
It's just
I have 8 years.
Well, I think there's actually something interesting about like the Ed being stuck where he is, and then Shaun kind of in that floating area. You almost have to, especially as a guy, there almost has to be like an impetus to make you go be adult, because otherwise you will just sit in your own filth and squalor and do whatever. And so Ed has nothing. He's still able to skate by doing stupid teenage stuff, like he's the lowest level weed seller on the planet, and that's just enough to cover his rent. And then Pete, either because of social pressure or whatever, he has gone full adult. Shaun, the thing that's kind of trying to move him away from Ed and childishness into adulthood is Liz. And so that's kind of why he's in that floating area in the move.
He's slowly learning that this isn't sustainable, even though he loves this lifestyle. And he's trying to hold on to a piece of it with Ed. But like, it's a zombie movie, it's a comedy, but it's about growing up at the same time too. Like, get your shit together, mate. It's like one of my favorite lines in the whole movie.
Right, and without Liz, Shaun would absolutely just remain Ed level-ish, just a bit removed, but on that Ed level. But Liz is the reason. In order for him to have Liz and that competing interest of, in order to have Liz, I need to start adulting. But I still want to have Ed, and so there's a tension there as well.
He's trying to find the right balance, which is
right.
Yeah, and the film reinforces that a couple of times. So it does reinforce it later on when Shaun is at his job and he asked for I don't know the guy's name in the movie, but I know the real actor's name is Rafe Spall, and he asked Rafe Spall for his age, and he's like, "Oh, what are you, 21?" He's like, "No, I'm 17." And then you get it after again with another sequence where he talks to Philip, his stepdad, where he's like, "Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you doing that?" Speaking to him as if he is a child, although he's trying to give him the respect of an adult. So the film does reinforce that idea and doesn't abandon it, which I appreciate. And now we've got Liz on the phone, who's telling Shaun that she wants to change the time for their dinner date to 8 p.m. because she's going to be busy. And Shaun has already stepped out of the house, and he's probably forgotten everything. And once he steps out of the house, this is where we get what I love. It's the day in the life tracking shot. And man, it's so good.
Every little detail is just enjoyable about it.
Everything comes back later on, even the same camera movements, everything. And I appreciate the fact that they do a day in the life in a zombie movie, because weirdly enough, in a lot of zombie movies specifically, you don't get this. It just starts most of the time.
They don't have respect for the pacing that this movie does, like really letting it breathe. And you get the sense that every little detail is actually important. Like it's a type of long shot that you want to pay attention to.
Yep.
Love it.
And doesn't he trip on the same sidewalk?
The sidewalk,
sidewalk both times, which like implies that like he's on such autopilot that he makes the same mistakes every day too.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what's the convenience store say to him today? He's like, "Oh, no beer for you today." So you just pretty much that highlights his life. Like you get their whole lifestyle in a couple lines from the convenience store guy and Pete. That's the roommate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Pete and
efficient
Ed, yeah.
dialogue. Yeah, I love efficient
Pete,
dialogue.
Ed,
Like
and the deli owner, I forgot his name, so I'll just call him Apu because he is it. So I picked up this screenshot of a couple of different stuff, and I think that GM crops are basically what they use because you never know where the zombie virus comes from. But upon rewatching it the second time, I had to put this in there because I finally realized so it comes from crops. That's where the zombie virus from Shaun of the Dead is from, apparently.
Well, there's a disagreement because if you look at the Daily Star, it says new super flu scares the public.
Oh, maybe that's the point that they didn't. There's
that it's not really known.
I always got that impression that they were deliberately non-committal because then you have the roundup of the news anchor at the end where he's flicking between channels and there's the theory. One of the theories is dismissed as bullshit. Another theory I think is dismissed as well. And the newspapers are basically here on this on this side. They are just scattergunning every conceivable explanation for a zombie outbreak that's ever been in any film. Will be broached at some stage environmentally in this, but I don't think they ever commit to one. You might be right about the GM crops, but I thought that was one of the ones that they sort of moved away from at the end.
I think one of the big things is that they don't commit to one. Like it's pretty much up in the air as to what really happened.
They don't really care.
And I'm not as familiar with the tabloids of Britain, but I'm wondering if like the blame is tied to like the political slant of the particular tabloid.
Interesting.
Because I mean, GM crops, especially in the early 2000s,
if only we had a former British journalist on the
Well, did he work for the Hornsey and Crouch?
I don't know, but he would probably be more. I don't know. Platoon, do these? First of all, are these real? Are these real?
I don't know about Hornsey and Crouch End, and I don't know about Broadway. The Star is, the Sun is, the Mirror is, the Express. They're the big sort of tabloids. The other two I don't know very well. But it's believable. I interned a little while on something called the Bedfordshire on Sunday, which is the kind of newspaper you could actually expect to be in Shaun of the Dead, because our most famous and successful story once was an old man found shampooing his genitals on a bus, which just blew up. And the head of the entire media group came in and said, "More of the same, please." I was like, okay.
I can't even believe that's newsworthy.
Wow.
That's how bad local news is. That's how bad news in this country generally.
Actually, that's pretty newsworthy because a lot of people on buses are doing other things with their genitals if they're doing something weird in the United States. At least.
That's not what you get into journalism for. Like, come on,
no, it's not.
Your stomach must have just sank when you heard that shit. Like, really?
Well, yeah, it was. But then again, like my actual professional journalism career was covering pensions primarily, and that's just boring. So it's
so you're saying old
on bus versus
shampoo balls spiced it up, eh?
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. But no, I was at the Financial Times for a little bit. But no, yeah. So like, I don't think any of these. The Express usually complains about Princess Diana more than it complains about GM crops, but that's kind of a believable Express headline. The others, I don't think are tied at all. They all. Well, I guess the point is they're all kind of the same. Because the Sun and the Star in particular are known for very like gutter journalism, just sensational.
On the left too, you've got I don't know what it is, the Daily Mail maybe or something like that. It says mystery bug on it at the left of the Sun and the Daily Star. So
which could actually mean either like a sickness bug, or it could actually legitimately be some sort of weird like bug that has
a bug. Yeah.
Well, I mean, on the Daily Express it says mystery virus claims more lives. So
it's implied that it's more than likely a disease, but there is always the possibility that they're talking about like some sort of weird bug, like
the boll weevil has showed up and ruined the cotton crops.
They give you a lot of options just to play with, and then they cut this scene really quickly. It's one of a few scenes where they give you a little hint and then they immediately cut away, so they don't press on it too much, which I like.
I do want to re-highlight this comment again because this is one thing I noticed when I was watching it, that he does pick up one of the sodas and puts it back, and he does it again later. But I think
it's the opposite.
The second time he puts down the non-diet and picks up the diet, I believe.
Yeah, he does the opposite the second time around. I'm not really sure exactly what. So he picks up like the red one and puts it back and gets the silver one.
Well, the red one, it's Coke and Diet Coke. So it's I think that it's implying that.
Is it when he said that Liz said that she
wants him to get his shit together? I think it's like, I'll start dieting.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. That actually is a nice detail then.
Detail. And look, another detail. Look at the man behind. He becomes relevant pretty soon, actually.
Indeed.
But,
Who was that guy? Is he the first one who pops in?
no, he's the dude that they say in. Well, we'll see when we get to it.
Okay,
You'll see,
remind me.
And so yeah, so you got Shaun
Love
on the
this
bus.
stare.
He's the only person that looks a bit determined at life, at least in the little. I don't know. I've never been on a bus. Like I got my license directly, so I've always just been driving in my own
Man,
car.
you're lucky if you've never had to take mass transit. It
I've
sucks.
never had to.
That's
man.
all.
Yep.
I didn't take a bus with any regularity, but I did take the train with regularity for years, and this is pretty accurate.
You'll never appreciate a car.
Oop, are we losing
Beforehand.
Brooksy?
Like it's just impossible.
We are losing you, Jedi Brooks. I think you're lagging out a bit.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
Back?
All right.
A little bit better now, yeah.
Yeah, you're
So
back.
yeah, I've never really like I said, I never really taken the bus with regularity, but I did take the train like every day when I was in college. And it was just you see the same people every day getting on. Miserable for the most part, you know. Now, like at least now it used to be like the one guy in the background has a newspaper, but most of the time now it's smartphones, people just not paying attention to what's going on around them, you know.
Zoning out. I was gonna say uninspired, if you've never had years of commuting on a bus for whether it's school or work or anything, you'll never truly appreciate the transition to a car. It's just impossible.
No, dude, never.
It's
like
just,
never.
you can never appreciate the difference.
There's only one person on the school bus who has that dead stare, and it's the driver.
Oh,
they've seen some shit. They have seen some shit.
Yeah, usually the kids on a school bus don't have that dead look in their eyes.
I used to go because like I didn't have a driver, but my neighbor did, and so she basically had her driver drive me to school with her every day for what?
Your neighbor
10
had
years.
a driver? Wow.
Well, we went to the same school basically, so. Dude, I went to private school my entire life. All my friends are rich motherfuckers. Like they all have drivers and shit. So,
yeah. Are you unaware of Uninspired's wealth and the fact that he comes from casino
I never told
money?
you guys. My dad was the manager and major shareholder of a casino. So like
Well, there you go.
My dad was a young millionaire.
If only you were born in Nigeria, you could be like, we make a joke about how you're a Nigerian prince just trying to give away your money.
Oh, dude, I should. that could be good, man. That could be good. I'll say I'm a Ghanaian prince. That's what I'll say. But yeah, so we get the details of people fainting, and this is the first time we have like actual focus put on this. And so you've got the woman fainting, and then after that, oh god, I was about to cough. I died for a second.
Did we had the cat faint?
You all right?
I'll take over for a minute.
Here we go. This guy's turning into a zombie.
See where we're at. Please do. You don't have another slide here, so it goes right to when he's at work. So I don't know where he's going to go with this. But...
Is there a second bus ride? I'm struggling to remember this bit of the film because there's the one bus ride, which is the bit where that's the film's transition into things are actually starting to fall apart and go wrong. It might be a second bus ride because you've got the woman fainting, but there's the other one later on where you see more like everyone's puffing.
Later on in the flower. Yeah, I have that one too. And so this is the first time that we see him at work. That's Rafe Spall in front there, one of my favorite actors ever. If you guys have seen The Ritual, he's slimmer and older in The Ritual. He's also the antagonist in the worst Jurassic World movie ever, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. If you
Dominion is the worst.
Yeah, I was going to say Dominion.
Dominion is a special. I will fight anyone on that. Like,
I want to know what Julio Rangel is. What part of Beast Up lore? I didn't catch the part. I'm actually not up on my Beast Up lore. I haven't been on in a while, so I don't know. The lore has probably changed a lot since last I was on.
It hasn't been on very often.
It hasn't been on, so no.
I mean, I did continue my Tyrannosaurus Rex based shirts. If anybody recalls my 4th of July one from back, in July, I now have a Halloween one to go along. So that's
I like to imagine the closet you have that is just okay. Now this is the T-Rex section of my wardrobe, and then
you'd be surprised.
I would not be. I don't think I would be after seeing this.
To say that I have a Hawaiian T-shirt with a T-Rex on it for every holiday would not be an understatement. So,
I mean, we all have goals we aspire to.
That is a
Oh,
flex,
yeah.
to be sure.
And so yeah, so this is where we finally see him at work, and there is no I in team, but there's an I in pie because meat pie. Pie is an anagram of team. I don't even fucking know.
Just gives up.
I love that because it definitely comes off as a thing that somebody prepared and says really well, but because he's
Yes.
filling in for the day, he
Yep.
doesn't remember it because he's probably tuned it out.
He doesn't know.
Especially in
Whoever
retail.
does that probably nails it. He's trying to recreate that moment. He just fizzles out. Like you can just
Especially in
tell all
retail,
of them
man.
seriously.
When you have your boss that's doing just before opening, your boss just says, "Oh, look, everyone, we're gonna do this today. You have to clean this, you have to clean that, man."
Yeah,
Fuck
the worst
retail. I
thing,
hate
the
working
worst
in
thing
retail.
that a boss can do ahead of time of a day in any level of any job is tell you that people are out and you need to do more for the day. That's like the worst way to start your day.
Yep.
Sucks.
And so yeah, so we get more insights on the TVs, but they're not really paid attention to, as opposed to the woman who was fainting. So he's just showing off TVs to people, and he's flicking through the channels, and we see a bit of people with hazmat suits on. So you get a clear sense of that, and we finally meet Philip, Bill Nye, and what do you guys think of him in the movie?
Just before Bill Nye, because there is a bit, I think, when Shaun is flicking through the channels, he gets distracted by. Does he get distracted by the TV, or is it? No, he sees through the window.
Yeah,
They
through the
do-
window.
No, I think that he's highlighting the fact that all of the news stations are reporting the same thing, and then he gets distracted a split second after. It's just like the mail where he kind of zones in, kind of realizes something, and then something cuts him away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he gets
okay.
distracted by Bill Nye because Bill Nye is actually standing, facing the toasters behind him, and he's not moving. Like he is acting like a zombie sort of. And then that's when Rafe Spall's character says, "Yo, your dad's here." He's like, "Oh, that's not my dad. It's my stepdad." Like a kid.
That's another ongoing thing that they do.
Yeah, acting like a kid towards a stepdad. Who I mean,
saying that repeatedly, saying that no, he's not my dad, and we get a nice payoff.
Yeah, it's a running gag. Yeah.
Yep.
But then, like, obviously later on it changes. But
yeah, good payoff.
And man, I really like the discussion that he has with Bill Nye here, and so Philip, his dad, and it's because you can tell that he just wants to keep him in check, even though like Shaun doesn't like him. You can tell that Philip loves him, and he's just saying, "Yeah, are you gonna get the flowers for your mom because you forgot them on Mother's Day? Are you gonna come back? Are you gonna make sure that you visit her? Are you gonna introduce her to Liz? All the stuff like that, just actual concern from a parent."
Holding his hand like he's a kid, though, like in terms of like, come
Yeah.
on, nobody wants to hear like a reminder for the basics,
Yeah, and Shaun just brushes him off because Rafe Spall says, "Oh, I thought we weren't allowed to take social calls because Rafe Spall was constantly on his phone before." And then that's when you get literal comedic timing, just a black hand puffing it with a white phone. It's just like it's Liz. It's like, yeah, I love that Edgar Wright recycled all of this stuff and perfected it for Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim versus the World, especially the visual comedy.
That's why I was trying to highlight the very beginning of the Philip scene of just that little subtle turn. It just highlights the weird style choices that they make, and it doesn't work unless everyone's committed. Like the straight face he has, like you have to have all those elements in play if you're gonna commit to those type of jokes, and it just works. You can't explain why it's funny. Except
I'm not sure if there's like a name for it, but that's the style of like the zoom ins on kind of like
the snap zoom,
but like specifically on things that aren't really that important. But it just
like
tells the small story.
Using the bathroom and flushing.
Yeah, like that. Like, I don't know if there's like a specific name for like the snap zooms on for like pointlessness things. Like flushing the toilet and stuff. Like,
I mean,
I could reference how they. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just about to say we should just name it here mundane snap zooms, and we'll
there you
copyright.
go.
That's it. Copyrighted mundane snap zooms from two hosts. That's it.
Yeah,
I think they really they perfected it in Hot Fuzz for sure in terms of like using those things to like when he's doing the paperwork, it's showing his perspective on paperwork, like really,
and the train journey too.
He was even the train, like really showing his whole thought process and like his mind state throughout that. So they make use of it for like character work too. It's not, and they're also fun, but it's just the whole style. Just it only works with them with a whole team as committed as this.
Well, and the focus on the mundane things while something is happening, that kind of disappears later in the movie, right? When things start to ramp up. And so I think it's used as a storytelling device to talk about just the the banality of the life that he lives, right? All of these little mundane things, and that this is what is focused on. He doesn't actually, again, going through the news, he's not, it's like noise to him. We see it, and he's just zoning off on it, right? And so when you focus on something that's really meaningless, that's really what he and a whole lot of people in this movie right now are doing.
Yeah, I mean, even here right now on the phone call, it's Liz that's calling to just confirm about the dinner plans, and he's clearly not paying attention to her because he even forgets, and it's out in the street when he meets Yvonne that reminds him to make the dinner plans. Although Liz, his own girlfriend, complained about it to him. So yeah, this is where we get the pigeon guy because he's off to buy flowers for his mom, and you just get the reflection of the pigeon man. You don't really see him because the bus passes in front once.
Yeah, it's almost like watching like a real like a live action flip book in a way. It's like you kind of get like little glimpses.
And this is one of the scenes I'd mentioned of like it's not terrifying, but they understand tension and horror enough to make little moments like this work, and the way they shot it with the reverse of the glass and everything. I just like that. You can't do this unless you understand horror. Like definitely.
Yeah, that everything is normal, and then things start to tilt just a bit, right? That there's this little oddness, but don't focus on it, don't make it a big thing, but it's just enough to start to cause a bit of uneasiness or curiosity. It was like, wait, what the hell was that? And now we're not going back to that.
Yeah, and there's no very sudden or stark contrast. It is the genius of that sort of environmental storytelling is that it does actually rest on the fundamental weirdness of the mundane world anyway. So if you're familiar with London, it's not unusual to see weird old druggy looking types stumbling through parks doing weird things. There's only a slight difference between that and him going after a pigeon, and the fact you don't actually see what he does with the pigeon, though it is implied what he does with the pigeon, is that's not a hard contrast. That's just okay, well, that's a commonality. That's a normal weirdness with a little bit of extra weird on top of it that makes you think maybe something more is going on here.
Yeah, it's nothing too jarring. It's all very believable. And we're so focused on his story right now that it's just like makes it subtle background noise.
And this is the one that we were talking about when he goes when he's going back home, and he has all the sick people on the bus with him. And you can clearly see they're all really, really pale. I mean, I've seen a lot of white people.
They're from,
it's Britain. England. Yeah, it's Britain.
I was like, I've seen a lot of white people, but I mean, come on, man, this is really, really.
Hey, there's definitely two black dudes in the back there. What are you?
Two of them.
Yeah.
Jedi Brooks, an uninspired reviewer, chilling in the back of the bus there.
Especially for those wondering what I look like, I look exactly like Jedi Brooks.
Yeah,
he does look like me a little bit.
It's actually like uncanny resemblance.
Yeah. No, he said he had dreads before. We definitely have a similar facial structure and the same. That's the first time I seen him. I'm like, what the fuck? This guy talked to you for 3 hours. Didn't know. Kind of look alike.
So this is where you got Yvonne that just pops up, and he constantly bumps into Yvonne, which I think is a good running gag, especially the fact that you get the great payoff at the end with it.
Oh, that's my favorite scene. I can't wait to get to that one.
And like right behind, you have everyone. You have this person that was in an accident, and everyone's just in line, and it's treated as such a weird thing to like. I don't know, the way that it's framed for me, it seems a bit mundane, but it seems so weird because they're not even paying any attention to it, Yeah,
they're oblivious. They're lost in their own interaction world, which again, so many people go through life not noticing anything else, and it contrasts well with like the bus. If you take public transit, never have so many people never looked at each other in a single space, right? It's like everybody's kind of their own island. They don't make eye contact. They don't, they try not to touch and all that. And so these two, all of this, lunacy is going on behind them, and they're just locked into each other, talking about it because everything external to them isn't important.
Yeah, they're catching
the backdrop scene. There's a paramedic in the back of the car. So the if you'd seen one thing in isolation, you'd assume, oh, maybe the person in that car has had a heart attack or something. And this is what happens. Occasionally, you will walk past a car where something's wrong. There'll be an ambulance there. There'll be people gathered around looking at it. But it's the slowly building tension of one thing following the other. So you've had like 2 or 3. Maybe even 4 if you include the coughing signs of just slightly more than normal abnormality. But because it's all going on in the background and you've got one following the other, you get this sense that, something is actually quite wrong, even though in isolation they could be anything. So that's just a person who's had a heart attack in a car, for example. But the fact it's followed on from Pigeon Guy coughing in bus and all the rest of it is, it's all sort of building the tension.
Slowly adds up.
The tension in this movie always reminds me of the Hemingway quote about going bankrupt, where he's asking how did you go bankrupt? Gradually at first, then suddenly. And that's kind of how things fall apart, in this world, that it's little things. They're adding up, but then all of a sudden, bang, here's the, oh my God, it's finally hit a critical mass.
Yep. So Yvonne reminds him that he has to make a reservation for a restaurant, and it gives me one of the best lines from Ed, which I'll just play the clip because, man, I fucking love Ed.
Your mum rang about going around tomorrow night, and then Liz rang about the two of you eating out tonight, and then your mum rang back to see if I wanted to eat her out tonight. What?
Well, just rings through it so confidently. Oh my God.
Well, what it is that's definitely a running gag that they've had for a long time. You can tell because it just rolls off, and Shaun doesn't even like acknowledge it really.
You react to it.
So like you can tell that this is a joke that these two guys have had for a while.
It's I hope this is the scene. I'll point it out when it comes.
Just wanted to say there is a reference here to for zombie fans. The restaurant that he's calling is called Full Cheese Pizza. So if you're a zombie fan, Lucio Fulci,
but you know what the name of it is also called? Like it's the same thing Liz says. It's like, oh, that place that does all the fish. It's like literally Liz's description.
Yep, the place that does all the fish. Even on the phone book, like that's what it says.
That's what it says there. That's so funny.
So
that whole sequence reminds me of American Psycho as well. The famous him calling to get a reservation and the guy laughs at him in American Psycho, the Dorsia scene. This scene reminds me of that so much.
Him biting the phone is the type of physical comedy you can't teach or explain. I don't know why I find that so funny every single time. You just fully believe the frustration. It's just the only thing in his hand. It's just perfect. I hope because
he also knows that it's the breaking point for Liz. Liz has already had the talk with him several times. We're sure before it's implied, and he knows that this was like his last chance. And he fucked it up. So that's why he goes directly to Liz after recommending the Winchester stupidly as well, because he does always go back to the Winchester. It's so weird. Liz is angry. She's like, oh, let's just go to the Winchester. Sarcastically, he's like, really? It's like, no, man.
It's his lack of understanding. Like the just no awareness of the situation, the simple things she's trying to explain to him, and he is trying. He does care, and that's what makes him so compelling as a character. So he wants to improve, but it's just not clicking.
Yep.
Yeah, the gravity of the familiar just keeps pulling him back. He just
that's a good way to put
it. That's why when things go awry with the reservation, that the Winchester is a thing that he actually would think is a legit fallback plan, because that's what he's comfortable with and that's what he always does.
And he tries to get out of his comfort zone. He tries to scale the wall and go into her second story building, but he doesn't. You just hear the noise of him trying to climb up, but he's like, nope. He rings the door again. So
you're gonna pay off for that too as well
later. Yep. And again on the screen you've got the people in hazmat suits, so at this point Liz is completely wrecking Shaun, and because he suggested the Winchester, and they fight. And if you look at the framing in this scene, you see that David is behind Liz and Diane goes directly behind Shaun, which is completely telling, especially when you know what you know after in the movie. So this is where I'm guessing,
it's a great screenshot.
Right.
And then, so Liz is basically just fed up with Shaun's false promises, and he at this point tells David, this is something relevant later. He tells David, he says specifically, I think he says, if you fancy her so much, then why don't you like go be with her? Which
why don't you date her if you love her so much? You can't get fucked 4 eyes.
Exactly, and it's like knowing the context after and seeing specifically, I was looking specifically at Diane on the rewatch and seeing her face, you can tell that she knows, and it's just really sad because there is a sad aspect to her and her and Diane and David's relationship that I still can't get over. I just feel like it's very, very sad, especially the way that they go. But I do have a sort of like Easter egg that I found when I was researching about Diane and what happens to her after the movie. So I'll tell you guys.
Because I was going to say, go ahead.
Look, well, so the one thing is when he says that to David, David like has a physical reaction, right? He recognized, and he's like, oh my God, have I been outed? And there's kind of this defensive, it's almost like he takes a physical hit from that. And then you see her looking at him like, I mean, we're kind of seeing it here.
The fact that David is so insecure about something that's been so obvious to everyone for years, it just really highlights the type of character he is. And Diane's like whole situation with this, especially with what you know going forward, it's an interesting dynamic with all of them, and they do it all so subtly, just through a couple lines.
It does also play into the fact that so Diane is kind of like, they have similar traits. They're both blondes, both relatively the same height and stuff. She just like, one of them is clearly slightly more attractive. So it's like she's her being plan B, so to say.
Yeah.
Makes more sense when you think about that.
Their whole dynamic, you can just get their history, like especially with what she says at the end. And it is kind of like, it is kind of sad, but interesting at the same time.
Yep. And yeah, so this is where he gives the flowers to Liz, but sadly it's written, for your mom. And he tries to play it off as a joke, but Liz can just sniff it out directly. She knows that it was for his mom.
It is like, that is like really top tier level adjustment, by the way, that he makes, where he's like, well, yeah, you made that joke about being like my mom. So, just
that was a nice try. It was definitely
it was a very, very valiant effort, and on the fly. And if someone did that in real life, that would be really like chef's kiss, like try to recover right there.
Well, I think the thing is that she has always kind of seen through his bullshit and tolerates it because she wants to be with him. She is now pulling away from him, and so he tries the same kind of, I'm going to cover, and it's a pretty lame fucking cover, and she's just not having it, right? And that I think also kind of sets him back, or he's like, wait, I mean, normally either he thinks he's getting away with it, or he recognizes that she's letting him get away with it, and she's not letting that happen anymore. And
not anymore.
He's realized,
you get the sense that these tricks used to work, and now it's just like she's fed up.
Right.
Yeah, and so at this point, she basically just takes a very big stance and says, I don't want to spend my life all the time at the Winchester, especially like those sad old folks wondering what the hell happened in my life. So instead of, because at the beginning of the movie, she says that she wants Shaun to do what, like to live life, but she wants him to want to do it. She doesn't want to drag him out. Right. And it's something that I really appreciate from Liz, is that even though Shaun would do whatever, she knows that even if he doesn't appreciate it, he won't be there 100%. So she just takes the full initiative and dumps his ass, and he's outside.
It's the fact that she says do something, and he's like, what do you mean? Like, he's just completely oblivious to what she's even trying to say. And Liz, in my opinion, is like, she is top tier in terms of reasonability. She's given you so much room here to figure this out, and you just can't get it. So he deserved to be dumped here. It's perfect.
Well, and she has such an adult view of relationships, right? You know, that again, she knows, I could make the decision, I can manipulate you to get, because you'll just follow whatever the strongest wind is or whatever. But that would inevitably sow resentment later on. And there's a difference between, I want to be with this person and I will do whatever, versus I want to be with this person and I want them to actively choose to be with me. That's what she's looking for. And he's just kind of floating around. Again, whatever the strongest wind's blowing is where he goes.
She's asking for a better version of him, getting him to just whatever it needs to get him to step up. And like, it's
right.
So
and she's not necessarily dictating the outcome. She just wants him to start to have his own initiative. You start making decisions instead of just following.
It's not even like saying that she wants something specific, or Shaun, I want this hell, Shaun, I want to do this. She's being the most reasonable you could possibly be. It's just like, I need you to be a man so we can have a life together. We can get the, transition. And it's so crazy, the dynamic. I think Liz's character was really well handled in terms of
they nailed it. Yeah. And after dumping Shaun, God has a sense of humor, because it rains right after.
It's done right after. It's perfect.
And so what he does is he goes to the pub, and
he goes to the Winchester of all places. What are the odds?
I am shocked. I'm amazed.
Yeah, you've got 2 instances of payoff in this screenshot alone. You've got the people in the back kissing next to the telephone booth, and you've got the flower being thrown into the bin, which great.
Yes.
And you have one of those very stereotypical red telephone booths that everybody has seen in every single movie that takes place in Britain. So
I mean, in 2004, Britain would still have those, right?
no, I'm just saying it's it's a detail. It's like those are like iconic.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Platoon. Do they still have some of them in Britain? Maybe not in your village, but like
we pretty much got rid of all of them now. But they were still around then. It's only quite recently that they went through a splurge of actually taking them all up. They tried to convert a few of them. There is one in a village next to mine, but they've turned it into, because villages have lots of old people. There's now a defibrillator in the phone box because it's answering a really present public need, right? People occasionally just die, and sometimes you need defibrillators on hand.
Yeah, occasionally they just fall over and their heart goes into arrhythmia. So
it's outside a pub as well, which is just excellent. But they turned a couple into like miniature libraries, but then people just stole everything from them. So now they're pretty much gone.
Yeah, there was a movement to do that here in the United States too, like free libraries where people would like basically put their old books in, and people would just take them and never give them back. So it's kind of fell off the wayside too.
Also, a lot of the ones in London, which I think are still in place, do not look anything like that nice. That they are just sort of grey glass boxes in which people just leave like cards for prostitutes, drugs. Occasionally, people use them as toilets, even though they are clear glass, and it's just quite disgusting.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna wash your genitals on the bus, why not? Drop a deuce in the phone.
Oh man, that's okay. I'm sorry that I brought that up. I guess
madness over there.
We could have just moved on. Not had any of those details.
It's a beautiful place, man. So you've got Shaun. He's crying because of our conversation about people shitting in phone booths. But
he's like, there was so much shit in the phone booth outside. I don't understand.
I should have washed my genitals on the bus.
Yeah, and you've got the comedic timing of the jukebox as well, which just it's God again. It's just saying fuck you, Shaun. Get your shit together. Yeah, we've got Ed trying to cheer him up, playing the orangutan, which I do have a clip of. So let's check that.
He has the exact same middle finger technique as Jedi Brooks, actually.
Oh, dude, I have the same. I use the same middle finger technique. Like my fingers are long, so that's why I do it like that.
Sean's face is just like, is this my life? Is this really all this is? The Winchester and this guy's fucking orangutan impression. Just perfect expression right now.
I mean, to give it to Ed, he does manage to cheer up Shaun because he bounces back on what Liz said, that Shaun said that she doesn't want to end up like these old people in the Winchester with nothing to do. And he does prove a point that there are some interesting characters in the Winchester. I mean, you've got the what's this guy's name? Snake Hips. He's a bigamist. He invented the mobile disco, which I had to look up what bigamist was. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I thought you were gonna say you had to look up what the mobile disco is.
I'm looking up mobile disco right now, because I don't know what the hell that is.
My old job, when I used to drive on a fairly traffic-filled road. I still drive on the exact same road, but I used to commute with somebody, and when we would get stuck in really bad traffic, we would play this exact game that they're doing right here.
Oh yeah, they make up stories about random.
Yeah, like he'd point out somebody in a car, and I'd make up a story like on the spot every time.
Yeah, we used to love like sitting on benches and watching people go by and like tell the story about why they're dressed the way they are, where they're going, what's going on with them. Yeah,
I love the next.
I mean, it's especially fun to do it today. Oh, the next person. You know what? I have the next person on clip because it just makes me laugh so hard.
Coccicidal maniac. She's an ex-porn star. She says she starred in the world's first interracial hardcore loop.
The coccicidal maniac is absolutely one of the best terms.
Dude, I bet you Simon Pegg was just really laughing the entire time.
Honestly, I almost feel like that, like this whole scene was ad-libbed.
Like, there's got to be big chunks of it for sure. Just those two together, their chemistry.
Yeah, there's almost no way that this was written exactly the way he does it.
I would bet there's like 37 takes and the stories are different every time, right? The backgrounds are completely different.
Yeah, for sure. With comedy, you got to experiment and figure out which works and which ones you can have payoffs for afterwards.
Then you've got John, the mafia man, who's handy with the knife. He has a trophy wife, and he has a Winchester, which, may or may not work. We don't know. We will see that later. And,
but dogs can't look up either, so.
Yeah, that's what Big Al said. I don't know. I don't trust Big Al. He doesn't really seem trustworthy. I'm a cat, so I wouldn't know. And yeah, so he, as Ed says, it's not the end of the world. You've got this dude knocking on the door, which,
it is in fact the end of the world. Yeah.
So this Platoon, you were talking about lock-ins before. Is this what you were referring to?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying this is they're in a lock-in at the moment. So a lock-in is essentially when because pubs have to clear out, usually depending on licensing laws, at around 11. I think it is the usual closing out time. Some can go out. Some can go until 12. Well, pubs tend to be 11. Some go until 12. Clubs tend to be like slightly later, so you can have some that go until like 1, 2, or 3. But pubs themselves will generally have an earlier closing time because this country is a joke. But if you're on really good terms with the person who owns the pub, then you are allowed. They will sometimes let you stay in. They close the doors for all intents and purposes. The pub is shut, but because they know you, they like you, and you're there all the time, you are allowed just to stay there. They'll still take your money, but like it's generally accepted that you're outside the bounds of the law at this point. It's a nice little safe haven from the troubles of the world. So if you're on really good terms with your local pub landlord, then yeah, they'll let you stay in for a lock-in. There was one when I was at uni in Kensington, and there was a wine bar owned by this ancient old woman called Elizabeth, who was Polish, escaped the Cold War. She was in her 80s. But she used to let us stay on lock-ins all the time. And then it was just, ashtrays come out, everyone smokes and drinks a lot, and you can leave whenever the barman wants you to leave. But it's nice having them in this film in the lock-in because it is this safe haven against the outside world. And the fact is that though all the people in the pub with them are just effectively the dead dregs of society, none of them are speaking to each other. Nevertheless, they are all kind of outcast. They are all interesting in some way, and because they're all interesting in some way, they are all outcast from society. They are all pretty miserable, but this is the place they go to where they effectively are just allowed to be who they are, where they are, when they are, for as long as they want to be, which is really just a case of morosely drinking and smoking. The best kind of lock-in.
Would you say this scene or this movie portrays that well, like in terms of like realistically from what you remember?
I think so. To be honest, most of the lock-ins I've been at are more social because usually people are sticking around because they know each other and they know the barman. So the barman will, eat, drink, smoke with you as well. So everyone's talking. But I can believe that this kind of pub in this kind of area would have this kind of lock-in. So that's why when the guy bangs on the door, he's not allowed in because the pub is officially closed.
Oh yeah, actually, I never understood that. That makes sense.
I just want to piggyback on this, I'm sure Platoon can attest to this. There is no better people to hear stories from than like mostly Polish, but anybody that's like older that escaped the Cold War from like a Soviet territory. They just have the greatest stories of like their escape and stuff. Like the way they ended up and wherever they're at is always the best.
Oh yeah, I know a guy in Poland,
like Steve McQueen,
like 90 something, I think it was. His name is Anthony. Like because my mum played concerts over there. He built his own mansion out of wood in Poland, and it's beautiful and everything's so cheap. But he used to smuggle medieval music across the Iron Curtain in the bottom of baking soda boxes. Because you weren't allowed to like take those things across the Iron Curtain. So like the guards would come around on the train and poke holes in the box, but baking soda would fall out. But underneath the baking soda was medieval music. So he used to just do that. I can't remember what Elizabeth, the wine merchant's backstory was, but she was an interesting character.
I had a great college professor that was not going across the Iron Curtain, but he was part of the government in Zaire, and then things went a bit sideways. He got unpopular with dictator, and in order to escape, he had to smuggle diamonds out, and then made his way to France and had to work in a hotel cleaning rooms. This is a PhD in economics, and then eventually made it to the U.S. and then was teaching in college. But yeah, he had some stories. All right.
No, dude. Like I don't know the person that owns the CBD shop in here. Like I don't know. He has weird stories about smuggling drugs across the border, which I don't think he should be telling anyone. So
the best stories are like the ones like the people who escaped by being smuggled out of like the Soviet Union. Those are the best stories. They're like, yeah, I was in the bottom of like insert like random anything, and they're like, yeah, and I was in the back of a truck. I didn't know where I was going.
Like, yeah, I escaped in a fridge.
I escaped in a fridge. I ended up in a country that I didn't know the language, and they had no idea why I was there. It's like then they have to like those are the best stories.
Oh, dude, for sure. And yeah, so they finally leave the pub, and we do get to see the man and the woman in the back. And
Yeah,
man,
the payoff for the setup from not that long ago.
it's so good. Like, oh, look at the way it snaps back.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So now here's the thing: is I've always wondered about this scene. Did they start as not zombies, or like the one start as not a zombie at the beginning?
I don't think
lock-in?
that they were zombies
Because you'd think that
they were clearly kissing.
Yeah, you would think that like his head would have been like torn off way sooner, because I don't know how long they were in there, but it's implied for a decent amount of time.
One would have had to already been infected, but like they just did it for the setup, so you kind of got to go with it. One of the things though I want to point out this scene is the soundtrack that they went with is actually they're trying to go for like a little bit of a creepy atmosphere in the background and the soundtrack, but then you have these two fucking idiots just chilling and like partying on, yeah. Just blending comedy and horror in like such a perfect way.
Questions for Platoon here from Princess Fiona.
Sheet music.
Sheet music, okay.
Sheet music. Damn. All right.
Shout out to the princess. Shout out to the princess. I see that chick everywhere. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, shout out to Princess Fiona, one of our trusty moderators
Legend.
and a good friend.
She's the captain. She's the captain of moderation, if you will, for 2Os.
Yeah, legend. And Fiona is also like my #1 tech support. And with my faulting computer that consistently dies on me, Fiona is always there to help me out. Thank God. We love you, Fiona.
Tech issues is the bane of my existence. You know that, man.
You had one literally at the beginning of this stream.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, you know, always, man.
Or before I got here.
And yeah, so you got them here. This
was in the commercial too. I remember. I'll never forget this scene. Yeah.
And then they go back to the house and they just start like DJing really, really loudly, which I just find incredibly funny for some reason, because they're just wearing the hats and the back. You didn't need to add them wearing the snapbacks like this, but
yes, you did.
They're actually fitted. They're actually fitted hats.
It's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect. This is them going back to the bullshit that they were doing like years ago, like reverting even further back, and then Pete just comes in to just like snap us back into reality. Like I love every bit of dialogue this guy has.
I love that they think it's Saturday. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, every day for them is probably Saturday. I mean, for Ed at least, Shaun has to go to work.
Actually, technically, I mean, based on what they're saying, I think it was actually because it's 4 a.m. So it's actually Monday that they're doing this. So like, it's implied, yeah.
Because Pete has to go to work in the fucking morning.
No, I think it was Sunday morning, but Pete has to work on a Sunday because someone called in sick. That's why he's so pissed.
Oh, that might have been it. Okay.
So it explains why they're completely confused. Like they are just they're off. But
and he got mugged by crackheads and bitters.
It's 4 in the fucking morning. Like, he's just fucking. Oh man, it's perfect.
Wrong one.
And yeah, I mean, so you've got the setup again. So you've got Pete reminding them about the front door being open, which is relevant because after this is the zombie apocalypse. Then you've also got Ed that foreshadows living in the shed, because Pete says, yeah, you should just live in the shed. And then you've also got foreshadowing of Pete's death, because Ed says the next time I see you, you'll be dead. Indeed,
that's not exactly that's lazy foreshadowing. I think anybody who saw the title of the movie knows that that's going to happen. Probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's not like it's not like one of the ones I would compliment in terms of like a great setup or payoff, but you just know like what they're hinting at. But I think the more important thing is Shaun, like the words like really hitting home with him. Like I bet it was Liz that did the dumping, didn't she? And like, is this why you have Ed? He's having someone who's a bigger loser than you makes you feel better, and just sort your fucking life out, mate. Like his delivery, the line, he's just right, and they have no counter, you know.
And at least Peter's like understanding, because he does says once Shaun tells him that Liz and him broke up, he knows that it is a serious relationship to Shaun. It's one of the rare things that Shaun tries to take seriously. So he is understanding. It's only when Ed butts in that he what does he do? He exacerbates things. Is what Liz would say.
Doesn't Shaun also frame it as Liz broke up with us?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is because he and Ed are still inseparable at this point, which is itself part of the problem. And then the only comeback is it's not hip hop, it's electro, prick.
And I can't remember who said it, but yeah, you're right. Pete's trying to be reasonable, even though he's pissed off. He walks away, and it's just the stupid comment from Ed that brings it back, and then he just unleashes on both of them. It's just perfect.
And so yeah, so you've got Ed going to bed, Shaun drunkenly stumbling and writing stuff on the wall, and you've got the transition where he has to go around Mom's, get Liz back, and he has to sort his life out. Which it's only in this scene where I realized that they were using a set as Shaun's house, because I listened to a bit of the director's commentary, and so like Shaun's house is entirely a set, and it's just a backyard. They actually went into some woman's house that rented out her backyard to Edgar Wright, and so they destroyed her backyard, basically making this movie. Sadly, but
I mean, if part of your house is gonna get destroyed, at least hopefully it's for like a successful film, not like some piece of shit that no one's ever gonna watch.
Oh, dude, I'd be proud. I'd make like tour visits to my house. I'd be like, yeah, this is Shaun's backyard, motherfuckers. Pay me $5.
That's actually crazy. This is an iconic horror movie. Like to have that piece of that, it's cool. Like even I think Drinker pointed this out. I can't remember, but it was a long time ago. How the fact that Shaun's outfit became like, oh, you can do that as a Halloween costume, you know, like just a white shirt with a red tie, and people know what it's up, what it is. It's
Yeah, you have to be careful though, because some people think you're Dilbert.
Oh shit! Yeah, Dilbert.
Well, as long as you put the name tag that says
bat.
Sean,
you need the cricket bat and the red
Shaun.
Yeah,
and the red ink. Then you
as long as you've got red on you, that's it. And so yeah, so we get another day in the life tracking shot, except that it's the next morning with the zombies that are finally out. But Shaun is oblivious. But you do get little details. I mean, man, one of my favorite details is the door open, the bodies. The runner is still alive though, so rule number one of surviving the zombie apocalypse is cardio. Don't know if you guys know this. And yeah, so Apu is dead, sadly. He was in the back. You can see him for a second there.
He slips on the blood there too. And like the point that Darkar was making earlier is like, you know what, he's sort your life out. This is why he goes for the Diet Coke too. So I think it was Princess Fiona who's bringing that up. Because as I was watching that, I'm like, why is this? There's got to be a reason for this. But yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
It's also the origin of the cornetto that becomes the Cornetto trilogy when Shaun asks everybody wants Cornetto, and so he gets one.
Hung over.
Cornetto, yeah. And then
I love the. You didn't happen to clip the this, did you? Because I love that as he's flipping through it was
too long for long for copyright. That's
copyright will get you on that one.
But
I like how they did that in Austin Powers too.
Yeah, the words seem like, but it's better in this one because it's like that one's very like the one in Austin Powers. It's great, but it's clearly manufactured that way. This one comes off as a little bit more natural.
Yeah, I agree. It comes. You almost don't realize it's happening until like the third or fourth one. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you have to kick in. The Austin Powers one is clearly a joke from the very beginning.
Yeah,
but yeah, this one's much better for that aspect. Oh God, Mary,
Mary. And so I was watching a bit with the director's commentary on this afternoon, and this scene basically spawned out of saying, because Simon Pegg had a garden like this when he was before. And so he was saying, what would happen if it was the zombie apocalypse and one day you just found someone like this in your yard, especially with no traces of blood or anything like that? It would be weird, but it would be terrifying as well, which I can agree with him. If you see someone in your yard like this, which is why they think the Mary is completely shit-faced drunk.
She's also not decomposing or anything really here yet. Like, her eyes have gone, but she isn't like, it's so fresh of an infection that she still looks pretty normal.
There's no blood on there. There's no signs of it. And they're hung over too, right? So it's just, it all fits as to why they handle it this way.
Yeah. So, I mean, she does try and attack Shaun, and Ed takes a picture, which does give a good result. But you can tell clearly from her eyes. And it's at this point that Shaun starts seeing her, because he looks at her eyes and he sees that there is something weird, which Ed brings up later when he says, oh, what's wrong with her eyes? But yeah, let me just play the clip of...
Now, seriously.
That's probably the most horror movie scene in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, man. I mean,
yeah, in terms of
like pure like horror movie. I mean,
you get the gut scene with
David
later on.
But it's still sort of played off a little bit because the whole thing is like no one likes him at that point, and you're not supposed to like him, so it's kind of played off differently. This is like the one we just saw is probably the closest to like a true pure horror film scene, in my opinion.
Might be, yeah.
Well, I think it's the most shocking to the characters as well, because
it's them realizing,
and you know the fact that the kind of unnatural way that she gets back up off of that, you know, will trip your uncanny valley revulsion, and then
sure
you're looking and you're like, dude, there's like a 3-inch hole all the way through her, and she seems to be fine, even though I'm not sure how she would be standing up because her spine is severed. But okay.
I don't know what I don't know what the context of this is, but
I agree with you, Waylon. I agree with you. And,
that's the whole point. The British conquered the entire world for its spices, and then just decided not to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
you see,
right, Platoon?
I mean, they got tea. They got tea. That was it. They got the tea. And so yeah, so you've got the big zombie that's finally appeared, and they leave the door open. And Brooks, this is the one I was telling you about. The dude dressed in the suit.
Oh yeah. And even before that, they're just like, "Oh, what should we do? Have a sit and just flop right down." That's their solution for almost everything. But like the door being open, that's such a good setup. You know, they use that, of course.
And so,
well, again, you have the shock of what the hell did I just see? You revert back to the comfort of the familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, a good example of this is 2020 when, oh my God, it's COVID, and what do people do? They buy toilet paper as if somehow that is going to be the solution, right? But it is the thing that you can control. It's the thing you're familiar with, and you just jump and go, oh, I need that for some reason. You know,
that actually caused a secondary market of bidets to go through the roof too. That was like because toilet paper was sold out. People were like, well, let's buy bidets now, and it was those all went up.
Well, are there any bidets in America that come with your house? Because here in France, in my apartment, I know that my shit, like it comes with a bidet.
Higher end homes.
Yeah. Most of the time, it's like aftermarket. You attach it, like you just kind of open up the pipe and just reattach it yourself.
Okay. Then and then so then you've got Ed. I love Ed's reaction because Ed is basically unfazed and happy that he's killing someone, while Shaun is completely what the fuck is going on, which is so weird. And
Ed is like, okay, I love playing video games and killing people. I think I finally get to do it in real life, right? And
he's trained for this.
He's
been
honestly, I think I would have a very similar reaction, being that like one of my favorite video game series of all time is Resident Evil. I'd be like, yes, it's finally happened.
Dude,
but then I would remember that like I live in the state of New Jersey where owning a gun is actually pretty difficult. I'd be like, shit, I'm in the wrong state for the zombie apocalypse.
Dude, don't worry. All you need to do is just get your
just find my records and throw them.
Yeah, get your records. That's pretty much all you need. I mean, look at these guys prepared for war. This is such a good shot too. You got Ed. He's just like, yeah, fuck it, we can take him.
He's got like the triumphant chest thing going on.
So they do try and throw whatever they have, which I do think this is a realistic scene. If you know that they're slow walking zombies and you have to try and hit him in the head to kill him, you don't have anything.
You don't want to go near right away.
Yeah. So and plus,
well, and also the priorities are their normal priorities are still in play, right? So that it's not throw any record because they grab one and they're like, no, not that one. That's
I have a one of my notes is on this scene. It's something I wanted to point out. I'll wait for Platoon to be back if he gets it in time because it's actually a compliment to him as well too.
I mean it's the the belief that you still that this is an aberration and it's bizarre, but most of my life can still be normal. So we'll throw away that shit record, but not this one because this one's collectible and I've had it and it's great music. So we're going to save that as if that's going to be useful in a zombie apocalypse.
I mean, technically in the long run, it was useful. You know, he could have kept the original pressing of Blue Monday, so it would have been something. But you finally
and also
days is like
oh my god, there's
soundtrack.
There's so Blue Monday is New Order. Think about what's going on here, right? They're entering a new order of how things are going to be.
Yeah, definitely that's between the ones that they referenced. But I don't think he's going to be back in time. I'll mention anyway.
Don't worry, man. We'll mention it when he's back. Don't worry. We'll circle back.
Circle back. We control the time. We control the horizontal.
Remind me to make the music point because that's actually something I wanted to mention too.
All right, I'll do it. And then you finally get the iconic costumes that we know Shaun and Ed for, which, man, just keep in mind this came out in 2004, and you look at how much just these mundane costumes influenced a lot of like zombie related material too, especially video games. You've constantly got the blue collar type of get up, just to feel more as if you're connected as the audience, you know, because most of the people's audience are blue collar people, and so you've got Blood on You, I guess that's what it is, with the cornetto, which iconic. And
well, Platoon's not here right now because somebody had mentioned about like cornetto is like a big deal in England. I've never seen it, or at least not
Is it?
like looked for it in
you've never seen a cornetto?
not in my grocery stores. So
Yeah, I'm not
Ever?
familiar with it.
no,
What?
I think it's a European, like a British brand or a European brand that we don't. You'd have to go to like probably like either like the foreign food section or something to find it. I don't at least in my area. I've never seen cornetto.
I mean, that would explain it. I mean, Ghana, yeah, that is a old ex-British colony, so they do still have close ties to Britain. So a lot of the supermarkets and stuff like that you can find are British brands, which is why, yeah. But I've had cornetto my entire life, so. But yeah,
it just looks like kind of like standard ice cream. I can't really see why it'd be like that big of a deal there, but that's why I was going to ask.
Man. Cornetto is good. They come in different flavors, and I mean, every ice cream comes in different flavors. I guess.
Melvin, that's not a zombie game. Somebody were talking about favorite zombie game. Resident Evil 4 is not a zombie game.
Isn't it the one in Africa?
No, that's 5. 4. So that they're not zombies. They're parasite controlled. So it's not. They're like a hive mind.
Oh, the cordyceps.
Oh.
Yeah. They're a hive mind. They're not a.
Well, there you go. Amateur Analyst doesn't have cornetto either, and he's in Canada. So, man, that's really weird, man. Really, really weird. Yeah.
Nerd alert. But yeah, so we lost 2 of the. So you know what? Let's anybody in the chat have anything they want us to address up to this point that we missed, since we lost. We currently don't have 2 of the members of the panel. I don't want to move on too far without 2 people.
We're on life support. We're on life support.
Well, one person I don't mind. Oh, Jedi Brooks is back. Like, yeah, if there's 2 people that leave the panel, I that's like a cause for pause. But
well, I wanted to wait just for a second, just because of that scene. It's referencing something specifically for Platoon, but I can make the point.
Yeah, well, Platoon is back, I think.
We'll get back either way in time. It was a point that he made in one of his videos that I really appreciated. It was the Thor video referencing basically the little kid Axel being named after like a Guns N' Roses member, and I think it's just ridiculous that Taika Waititi just shoved his music interest into the movie regardless of whether or not it fit. And I like the fact that he pointed out that kid has no reason to be an Axel fan. Nothing about him screams Guns N' Roses. It's just Tiger shoving his shit into it like a fucking jackass. And I really appreciated that point. And this scene reminded me of that, of like, okay, if you're going to want to incorporate your musical interest, do it in a tasteful way. This is how you do it, where it actually makes sense. So we know, Batman soundtrack, you can give that. So you can get to see, their music taste and the things that they want to put across, but in like a natural way, not some stupid scene that doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever, you know?
And we've already seen them, remixing electro late at night. So we know that they're big music fans. We know they've must have a record collection somewhere. And anyone back then who did have a record collection would have collected a huge number of stuff that they now think is absolute shit, or been given it, or just collected it from somewhere. Which so they actually get to go sort through it all and pick out the very few good things to keep, and then just get rid of all the crap, like the Batman soundtrack, for example.
And that was set up perfectly with them throughout the whole movie. You would believe that they would do this as a believable scene. Compare that to Axel, where, like, what about him, like you said, screams Guns N' Roses. There's nothing set up. It's just Tyga being a jackass trying to shove his playlist into a movie. This was just much more well constructed.
I'm just gonna say this: if it was the Batman Forever soundtrack, though, that would have been one to keep. So,
man,
that has to this day has the most fun. Man. That one to this day has the most unearned licensed music I've ever seen in my life on one, all on one soundtrack. It's not like a terrible movie, but it definitely the music that they put, the amount of money they put towards licensed music was way more than they should have for that film.
And yeah, Platoon. We were talking about cornetos, and Dark Hour Jay said that they don't.
And a lot of people in the chat have never seen cornetto, like,
which I find weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't eat them ever, but they're always around.
Like to me, it just looks like we have a brand called Drumstick. That's just what that looks like.
Yeah. I'm with you, Dark Hour.
Chicken.
Yeah.
I think we have the same thing, just a different
name.
What
the fuck is Drumstick? Is that a brand?
It's because of the way that they're shaped is kind of similar to a drumstick, so they just call it that.
Good old Americans always referencing the chicken. It's like, it looks kind of like, what does it look like? I don't know. ribs.
Well, as a drummer, I have to say, drumsticks don't actually look like drumsticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
drumsticks look like that, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Dude, the drumsticks look like cornetos, except that instead of being flat, they're like a dome. That's it.
Yeah.
So
And
weird.
yeah, but it looks almost like and toward the bottom, it's like all the chocolate kind of builds up in the bottom of the cone, and you get like this. The last bite of a drumstick is always like essentially like a really
Pure
cold
chocolate.
Yeah, it's almost like a really cold Hershey Kiss almost with some waffle cones still around.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty cool little treat at the end of the treat, so to say.
Fuck is a Hershey Kiss? What is this?
Well, you've never heard
It's
of
a
Hershey's
cho-
Kisses?
Lord.
What a Hershey Kiss?
Oh,
is
they're
like
in
a little-
Europe. They get Cadbury and all of that.
Yeah, it's like a
Do you
little-
guys-
Pennsylvania.
Do you have ice cream sandwiches over there at least? Like that's
yeah.
my preference. There we go.
I have some here.
I'm
I love
convinced
that.
that Platoon lives in an alternative England at this point, because sometimes I'll say things and I'm pretty certain they actually have there, and he's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh no,
There's no
I've
way
been out
you.
of touch with
There's
England
no
for
way
the
you
last
guys don't
200
have Hershey
years.
Kisses. There's no way.
I have no idea
I-
what a Hershey Kiss
Like
is.
we
Never
don't have
even heard
Hershey
of it.
bars, but
Wow.
we have Hershey's Kisses. So I don't
It's
know.
a little.
I've
It's a
never seen
chocolate
Hershey's
drop. It's
bar.
literally just like it's
Like a
they
drop.
It's like just drop it, and it's like basically a big
Chocolate chip. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
We
a
have
teardrop
chocolate
of
chips.
chocolate.
Yeah, so imagine a chocolate chip, but like
Supersize it.
supersize it to about like that big.
The base will
And-
be like the width of your thumb.
So
Yeah.
it's like a chocolate coin.
No, it's an
No,
actual.
it's shaped like a little-
chip. It still has
Yeah,
the
it's-
tapered.
Almost kind of looks like a
conical
little
style.
volcano.
Dare you say that it's shaped like a chip, and we're going to have a disagreement as to what a chip is. So none of these references are helping me at all.
There's a language barrier, Jay.
I'm
Apparently
imagining like they make
apparently
chocolate
we
chip
don't speak
cookies
the right
and they're just
English.
flat discs of chocolate that they deal out or something.
I mean, in fairness, they do eat beans on toast there, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let's not get into biscuits and crisps. Let's just leave that entirely aside.
Okay,
Yeah,
don't worry,
biscuits
chat.
and fries.
After this is over, I will give all the information over to Platoon as to what these things are. I'll show him.
Fiona has it in chat. She's absolutely right.
Yeah, she's right. It's basically like if you just picture a piece of shit, like just poop.
The
Tastes
poop
chocolate.
emoji.
It's just like a big
Poop
blob.
emoji.
It's just
but
like
chocolate.
it's the most inefficient piece of chocolate. You can, like, why don't you get a chocolate bar? It's one of those things. You're not missing much, Platoon. Don't worry.
And so yeah, so for the movie, at this point, on the TV they said that you should lock your doors and check on people in your house to make sure no one's infected. Which Pete, he got bitten, so they try and check if he's home, but he doesn't respond until Ed says prick. Still no response. They know that he's not home, so they end up cracking a plan, knowing that his car is there. So what is the plan? Well, the first plan is to take Pete's car. Go to his mom's house, kill Philip, and go to Liz, and just wait it all out. But I mean, I just love the way it changes each time.
I
And
was
then
gonna
after
say, the way they do this is like one of the best scenes in the movie, like low key to me, in terms of this could have easily been repetitive, but they slightly change up the pacing and the dialogue every single time. So you get the idea, but you maintain the flow of the joke. It doesn't like overstay its welcome. They change it up just enough every single time to where it hits. Even the way they'll have one shot of Barbara and then they'll use a different shot of her. They use a different shot of Phil turning around. They find little subtle ways to make sure that it's still well paced. It doesn't have a second moment of like repetibility being repetitive.
I will say this too. It kind of like, obviously this reference wouldn't have hit me years ago, but it kind of reminded me of when your video doesn't pass copyright and you have to go and change it slightly.
Just like always,
just like you have to change it a little bit. It was like that. It felt like that.
I know
every
all
time.
about that. All the little tricks, all the bullshit you got to do. Just
Yeah,
to let
it
pass.
felt like that. It really did. Like, it's like, oh well, that one didn't pass, so let's try a different, let's try a slightly different version of it.
Just fucking take it out. Try.
Dude.
Crazy. Oh
Man,
man,
fuck copyright.
I got copyright PTSD. Like you don't even know.
Welcome back, Jay.
Jay, try it out. See how it is.
Fucking with my mic.
No, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
definitely.
you're good now.
Now you're good.
Right.
Yeah, it must have switched you over to like your camera mic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, switch to your laptop mic, maybe. Yeah, and so first thing is you go to Liz. Then the second plan is take Pete's car, go to your mom's house, kill Philip, get Liz, and go back home. But
the killing Philip one is my favorite part, because when they do pull up and he's like, just remember to kill Philip. Like, just
so casually.
He just
Sorry, Bill.
falls down. And then after the last one is take Pete's car, go to your mom's house, get your mom, kill Philip, get Liz, and go to the Winchester and wait till it all blows over.
The guy in the
I like the
background.
reason Ed's rejection of going to Liz's and staying at Liz's is that he wants to be somewhere he can smoke, because you know, that's the priority in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. You have to be able to smoke somewhere.
I mean,
He wants to know that he wants to be familiar with the territory. He wants to know where the exits are, and he wants to be able to smoke.
I agree with that.
Crazy priorities.
You should be able to drink and smoke because it is the end of the world. So fuck restrictions, man. Imagine you go to Liz's house, you don't know if you're gonna die in the next hour, and then she's like, "No, you can't smoke in my house, man. No fucking way."
And I was gonna say the guy in the background is the one time you actually see him smiling.
Yeah, the bartender, the owner.
Yeah,
But
and
I
John,
love how
John
like
and his wife.
in every single one of their fantasy versions of this, the mother is laughing and smiling, even though the whole point is that they just killed her husband. But like as they get every single one of them, she's more like happy about it. It's like it's just like
it's Shaun's idealized version. Like she just wants to like get it out of the way. Like how
yes. Oh. Good job, Brooksy.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's contagious.
We got 2/3. You back, man?
Did I robot out?
Yeah,
you did.
But it was like a perfect one because you like stopped like right mid sentence with your hand out like this. It was like,
what's the last thing I said?
I don't even remember.
Oh geez. I was just saying how
something about you love penis. I don't know. I think that's what it was.
No, it wasn't that. Definitely.
Okay.
It was
Barbara, the idealized version.
Yeah, it's Shaun's idealized version of this playing out. Like basically, his mom like
literally everybody does this too. Anytime you're ever like, yes, I know. I think anybody who's ever quit a job or something has done this kind of thing where they're like, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna walk out, like doves are gonna fly behind me and explode.
Yeah, the soundtrack is gonna swell and there'll be applause. Everybody will throw off the shackles,
and literally it never works out the way you say that it's going to. And
it's usually security with your arm behind your back, throwing you out with your
I mean, look at their enthusiasm whenever they crack the plan.
Is that for a slice of fried gold?
Yeah, boy.
Man, Ed is a black man wearing white man's skin.
He is. Ed just embraced his inner Flavor Flav there.
Yeah,
boy. If I recall correctly, that was also in the trailer. That whole like little sequence right there.
I forgot to just one thing. I forgot to take big comment off. So let me know if my audio and things improve now.
It sounds good.
Yeah. What the fuck is bitch comment?
One last thing on the fantasy scene. It's partially Ed's fantasy as well because it's playing off of the your mother joke that runs all the way through.
Yep.
He's the one who's drinking, cheersing with Shaun's mum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and before going and hatching the excellent plan, I must say, Shaun goes for a wee and he sees Pete, who presumably I think he turned while he was showering, which. Man, that's a shitty way to go because you end up.
But the shower isn't on, might I add. So he was just in there.
He's about to turn his switch.
Yeah, that implies that he got in the shower and was going to turn on the water and test it, but like not test it, just start the shower and turned.
I mean, yeah.
Or it was on? Somebody just said it was on. I don't remember it being on.
No, I don't remember it being on.
No,
either.
if it was on, Shaun would have known right away. He sees the shadow, not the water.
Yep.
So
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Nothing.
So they finally take Pete's car, and we see Pete, and
that's some great blocking on that shot, though. That's like
to block his junk out.
Yeah.
Then so they escape, and one thing that I really did like about this escape scene is that they did take a little moment to show you how the world is basically collapsing around them. So you've got this family that they pass by, who's the mother is clearly turned and is about to kill the kids, and the dad just fucks off. He doesn't give it. Like he genuinely doesn't give a shit. You can see him running away. He's at least like what?
I never wanted those kids anyway. Fuck them kids.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's the worst thing is that you hear the kid. He's like, "Oh, dad." It's like, nope, you're good.
No, I'm your stepdad. Bye.
Yeah, he took the 28 weeks later route where he just leaves the wife, boom, gone. Then after you got the dead, this is my favorite, the corpse in the body bag just shaking. Then also references to all of the other Romero zombie movies where you have
this is definitely this shot is very Romero-esque.
100%.
And yeah, so they accidentally hit a guy.
The famous trailer joke. Like, I feel like this got so many people in the theater. Like, just the delivery.
I
and
mean,
everything.
it's like he was gonna die anyway. It's like that's not the point. It's like, I mean, I would have left him. What would you guys have done?
I mean, when he turns and you see it's a zombie, yes, 100%. But honestly, at this point, I don't think there's any morality at this point. If you
Yeah,
have
because I mean,
accidentally,
what can you do? Can you bring?
No,
him to the
there is.
hospital?
There is. They were relieved to see, like, oh, thank God, it's a zombie. Because, like, they want to know that if they hit someone.
well, I'm
this one
saying
is
I don't
already
think there's
turned,
any
right?
like morality is different at this point. Like if you accidentally hit someone who's running from something while you're running from something, it's it unfortunate, but like.
Yeah, but again, it's the reversion to there's still vestiges of their normal,
Yeah.
and you hit someone and you're like, oh my god, you want to check on them or whatever. Ed is in full video game mode. Nothing is life isn't especially real to him in the first place. So
They've been highlighting that from the beginning. When the Mary fell down, Shaun was shocked. Ed was just like, "Whoa!" When he killed the guy, Shaun was shocked. Ed was just like, "He's ready for this," and that's why Shaun is continuing. Like it's really difficult transition for him, where Ed is just like, he's ready for this completely.
Oh yeah,
That's why I love this line. It's like, "Are you all right?"
It's always fitting to see that Ed's character is just so relatable here and in Hot Fuzz, because in Hot Fuzz he's still that gunslinging guy. He's like, you ain't never seen Bad Boys 2. It's like,
oh man,
it's Ed, man. I bet you
One
that's how
little
Nick
thing that
Foster
always gets me in movies, not just specifically, it's any movie that's filmed in a European country.
the cars
throws me off which side of the car they're on every time.
I mean, this is only in Britain, man.
Well, or what there are like other countries that have the steering wheel on the right, but it throws me off as just a weird thing every time where I'm like, oh, he's not actually driving. Like the line doesn't make sense if he's the one driving and he's like, oh, let's check him because like, and then I have to remember, no, Ed's driving. He's on the other side of the car.
yeah.
It always those little bits always kind of throw me off a little bit. But
I'd never drive if I go to the UK. I mean, if I ever go and visit Platoon, you're driving, because I'd probably like cause a pileup. Because oh my god,
they drive. You guys, does France have left justified cars?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're all on the left. My driver's seat is on the left, normal.
Yeah, so that's
I could drive on the right hand side.
I don't drive, so we're taking a bus basically.
Hey, Platoon
For the first time. Yeah, you forgot that part. You're introducing him to the bus. Oh my god.
Wait, I mean, Platoon has a boat, so you can just take the canals.
Yeah, that'll be better.
True, yeah, traveling at 3 miles an hour.
So much like driving in London.
There's no rush.
Yeah, I mean, we can get some rows. We'll just row it. We'll get like fit at the same time. And so yeah, so we finally see Shaun interacting with Philip and Barbara at the same time. One thing that we haven't seen before, and this is the first time we see Barbara officially, if I'm not mistaken, apart from in his mind. And what do you guys think about Barbara? Because I really like her as a character.
Oh yeah, she's probably like the unsung hero of the cast, to be honest with you. She has some of the best moments that you just don't see coming.
Yeah, she just seems like a loving mom, and just like she fits the role so perfectly.
Yeah, and in her, she's in such an awkward position because I mean she clearly loves Philip, she clearly loves Shaun, and she knows that there's so much tension between them, and she just wants everybody to get along, and so she kind of tries to skate kind of through the minefield of those two, and you can tell that she really wishes that everything was resolved, but it's not, and so she deals with it and tries to be a peacemaker when she can.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see their dynamic, especially Philip. He's what I call the it's like the stubborn father that was born before, the old generation father. Because my dad is kind of like this, every time he gets hurt or something, he's like, oh no, I'm not going to the hospital. You just shouldn't call the doctor or anything like that. It's like,
he's like, calm down, Barbara. I ran it over under cold water. It's fine. Like, you just know he handles everything like that.
It's a stoicism too.
And so he has this heartfelt conversation with his mom, and his mom really does try and put him back into shape. She chews him out a bit because he's trying to set him straight that he now has to act like an adult towards Philip, and he's not, because I mean, he even makes the joke of saying, "Do you know that he touched me or
That's
something?"
what I was gonna
like that.
say. I like the patience that she displays. He says a bunch of bullshit and she just brats it off, and then he goes for the big one of like, okay, I gotta go for it with this stupid thing, and she just turns around and gives him the eye, and he just he realizes the mistake he's made right in that moment, and that's when the only time she gets serious in terms of like, you gotta have some respect for my feelings too, right? So I think she played it perfectly. Like, she has her room she's willing to give him, but once he crosses that line, she'll shut him straight.
Yeah, and he's so the other stuff she's annoyed with, that thing actually causes her pain, and that's what causes him to reset and go, oh shit, I actually screwed up, and I've hurt my mom with this ludicrous thing, and again she's tried to be peacemaker, and now she's trying to lay down the law on him a bit and going, like, this is not, I'm not leaving Philip just because you're throwing tantrums and don't like him.
And I think that was really intentional on the writer's side of making Liv and his mom being very reasonable and obviously care about Shaun. It's just he needs to fucking man up in both situations.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it makes it such a personal story because you have all the elements around him supporting him, but it's just him that has to take the next step. There's nobody other than him that needs to change. That's it. It's like, it's really good, but as Edgar Wright is a comedic writer, and as we said, this is comedy, he does slip, what in there.
You did call him a you-know-what.
Oh, what? Did he tell you that?
Yes, he did.
Motherfucker.
Shaun.
Sorry, Mother. Mum.
I fucking love that scene, man. And so they end up taking Philip's Jag that the Ed was eyeing solely because, well, Ed cracked the car accidentally, He was supposed to be parked, but I guess he wasn't. And we accidentally
it's implied that he intentionally smashed.
Oh yeah, of
Smashed
course,
the
he
car up
smashed it.
so that he could drive the Jag.
It's like, I guess we'll have to take the Jag.
Yeah.
Man-child tactics.
And so this is where I really realized that Shaun of the Dead, slow walking zombies are scary because you don't really hear them or you don't really see them. They can actually creep up on you, which is one thing that I do appreciate about the slow walking zombies in general, not even in Shaun of the Dead, just in general, because nowadays we've completely lost touch with slow walking zombies. Everything has to be very fast paced. They're either wild animals or completely indestructible. So it's good to watch a movie and have them show you how scary these slow motherfuckers can be.
I was actually going to ask that at the beginning and I forgot, like, if we can go around real quick, what's everyone's like preference when it comes to zombies and their approach? Like the speed walking from 28, the fast ones from 28 Days Later, the there's the Last of Us ones with the cordyceps, and there was a bit of a mix, or there's like the Walking Dead, traditionally slow. Like which approach do you prefer?
I personally prefer the slow, overwhelming amount. I think that's really what it should be. Because realistically, if you took that away, there's no way to really get around. If not only is there hundreds of thousands of them and they essentially can't feel pain, but also they can run at you.
Yeah, it's just
it's a little too much going on. It's like the whole thing is that like you're supposed like. The reason why zombies work as like a device is more that there's too many of them to overcome, not that they're individually difficult.
If I'll save it if anyone else wants to go. Platoon, Jay, what do you guys think?
I think so. I think it depends on what you use as the origin for the zombie and the limitations. So, like, I think there's been movies where it's essentially a ramped up version of rabies that has hit them, but the thing is that they burn out fast, right? They live fast, die young. And so if you can wait it out, then the numbers dramatically decrease. And by the way, they tend to turn on each other and all that, right? The slow ones. So I don't like the constant, groaning, because it kind of gives it away, right? The slow walk, silent or quiet, there's an inevitability to them, right? That they're not in any hurry, but they're going to keep coming and in greater numbers, right? And so again, it's a gradual threat that then becomes overwhelming as it builds up over time. And so I think the horror and the fear factor are different for each one, but they have to have the limitations. So again, if you just have mindless, the dead have arisen. Well, I'm guessing they're not going to be all that brisk. If instead you have, essentially people that are infected with, super rabies, then you would expect them to be fast and wild and ultra violent.
It could depend on the setting in terms of where you use which type. And that's why I kind of like the distinction of zombies and infected, where you can kind of have two different separate branches. And infected are fun for, like you said, having the full force speed and like being able to have limitations and breaking down. But I do prefer the traditional zombies in the fact that individually they're almost pathetic. But if you make the mistake of getting surrounded, they're almost unstoppable in terms of how terrifying they are. Like different ways you can use the concept.
You've also got more time with the slower ones to emphasize that these are dead people. And so this one actually does it very well, given that so many of the zombies we see, we have already seen being alive.
Exactly.
When you have the infected sort of rabid rage monsters from 28 Days Later, it's been a while since I've seen that film, but I never really got the sense that, the overwhelming impression you get is that these are dead people. It was just, oh my goodness, huge environmental terror. It's running at me like a monster. And that's basically what you get. The cordyceps thing from The Last of Us, because I've never played the game, I have seen the series. I think it's probably the most interesting conceptually in terms of the origin story.
I'd agree.
I never really gave a shit about them, and I don't think they use them particularly well either.
I couldn't. That's my biggest thing with that show. One of the most interesting concepts, but you barely did anything with it. Like you can incorporate so many different elements with those things, even the design and the cordyceps.
The Walking Dead issue, because The Walking Dead begins as a pretty good zombie show, but then they kind of get bored of zombies. And so everything after that is zombies are just this huge CGI massive stuff, but the real villains are always the people, and so those are the characters. That is the threat. And
We've been. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
By the end of that, and I think The Last of Us almost skipped right to that stage. It did skip over the interestingness of the cordyceps and went straight for these are all the ways people can be dicks to each other.
And I think that's a big mistake, because they could have found a way to differentiate themselves from The Walking Dead instead of just going right back into that same element and really focus on the cordyceps and explaining the zombies. They skip so much, and that's what drives me nuts about it. The first episode of The Walking Dead is like one of my favorite zombie things ever. I've been trying to break it down with Uninspired for like fucking weeks now.
What, 3-4 weeks, man?
They get like 5 minutes deep, and they're like, "Okay, we got to talk about this for a while."
no, it's just the scheduling and like the streaming. I need to get into the tech aspect of streaming better, but like, those are the ones I'd reference.
There's actually if you think about it, so Firefly has
the Reapers
with the Reavers.
Reavers.
And then the movie Serenity explains what has happened, and they're essentially given the government decides to give people this drug Pax that's supposed to make them peaceful because they're trying to build a better world, and almost all of them just stop living. I mean, they will just stand and die, right? They have no motivation at all. But there's this small percentage that go absolutely mad and every vile thing possible. But there's a certain, they still, even in their rage, at least have enough intellect to be able to operate spaceships, however poorly, right? The engines will be throwing radiation off like crazy or whatever, but they're still able to fly. But they are just absolute predators in every sense of the word, and they're terrifying. That everybody in the universe is scared of the Reavers.
I mean, like, probably for me personally, like, it's always been slow walking zombies the scariest, because when I was a kid, I watched this Mythbusters episode, and they were trying to cover the amount of force that zombies, especially slow walking ones, could have. And they basically tore down a reinforced barn door in like 3 pushes. That was it. And I mean, if you're trapped,
if you get enough people pushing into something at the same time, that's a lot of weight. They might.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, even the absolutely terrible World War Z, the zombies coming over the walls of Jerusalem, right? It's just that mass of humanity coming over there that it will defeat whatever you have if you have enough.
Yep.
Yeah, and I did like what they tried to do. They tried to find new environmental ways of making zombies threatening in World War Z. So they were slightly creative in the way that they had them effectively swarming like ants and creating structures to get over things. But that, in the end, sort of doubled down on the problem that I was talking about with The Walking Dead, which is that actually there are so many, and they are such just this vague blob of environment that there's actually no threat. There's no real concept of zombie even in that show. You don't look at them and think, oh, I'm kind of sad that this person I knew has died. It's just, oh my goodness, huge, massive, like amorphous monsters. Right. And like it makes it for a less believable tale, I think, or certainly there's less to invest in with that.
Less horrifying.
Give up on, they give up on
the body horror, right? That these were humans and had lives and now have been reduced to this thing. And again, you can't talk to them. You can't all of the normal social skills that you have that allow you to interact and get through the day surrounded by a bunch of other, hairless apes who are prickly and kind of porcupine-ish, right? All of that goes out the window when you're dealing with these, even though they look like the people that you would normally talk to, and your normal instincts will be, oh, I can just reason with this. There's no reasoning. There's nothing going on other than hunger.
And it harms the motive as well, because even in The Walking Dead, is it season 3 when they're still trying to find when the governor's first town, and he wants to find
the 4th season.
Season 3 is when they go into the governor. Herschel's farm is season 2.
Yeah, so when they first meet the governor in season 3, and he wants to find a cure for this because his daughter is a zombie. So like there's a very personal motive to want to find a cure. You look around you, and because all these people that are the zombies, you want to find desperately a way to cure them. Whereas in World War Z, it's we don't really give a shit about them except insofar as they want to kill us. So how can we just make ourselves invisible to them? Right. And so, that's fair enough. It's just it's much less personal as a driving motive. You don't really emotionally sympathize with that.
Right. It's like just an environmental disaster that is chasing you, and how do we bunker down and somehow
incorporating the personal element is, I think, what makes it work in top tier zombie stuff. From Train to Busan to I think Walking Dead's prime was the love triangle with Shane, Rick, and Lori. Once you lost that, it just became nonsense,
Yeah.
Well, and the first episode of the first episode of The Walking Dead, to highlight on something Platoon said, when it just becomes like a mass of monsters, you kind of lose it. But like if you remember that first crawler on the ground in The Walking Dead, that it's like half a body, and Rick comes back to put it out of its misery, you really feel the pain in that scene. Like it's just like it's the one zombie that I feel like they put the most detail in, and it's like the first one that you see in the trailer and everything. And compare that to where they look in like season 4 and it just it falls
it's just like
nonsense.
A massive sludge of people. I mean, not even people, just a massive sludge of things. And that's why I really like before we move on, I really like Return of the Living Dead. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one. Return of the Living Dead, zombies actually speak, and it is terrifying as fuck, because there's a scene in that movie where they get basically it's just half a corpse of a woman, and they strap her down. And what she says is it's a pure zombie, but she's wailing at them. She's like, it hurts. I can feel myself decomposing. That's why we eat brains, just so it doesn't hurt anymore. It's like, when you see that in a zombie, that's really fucking scary as well, because that means that if you're turned into a zombie, not only are you dead, but you know that you're dead, and you're just like basically in hell. You're trapped. It's real purgatory, which, man.
Well, and also makes them sympathetic in that they're not there's no evil, there's no malevolence. It's they are in pain and trying to do something about that.
Man,
so
it's like, go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say just to come back. Do you have more to say about the?
No.
Okay.
I was just gonna move on. That's why,
because I know that the original question was fast zombies, slow zombies. That was the original that we've taken.
It's all good.
Zombies in general.
As I've said, my favorite video game series is Resident Evil. The remake. I think I told you to play it, Jedi Brooks, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's
the first thing you and me talked about.
Resident Evil. That's definitely one of the ones I got to get on.
The remake that they made for GameCube years ago, and now they've re-updated it again, has probably the best balance of the two that I've ever seen. You start with your slow zombies throughout the majority of the game, and when you kill one, it doesn't disappear. It just stays there. And at first, if you played the original one, you don't know why until you get to a certain point. And you can burn the bodies. If you don't burn the bodies, they reanimate again as fast zombies with the claws. So there's like a secondary mutation. So it actually builds it's like, so first you have the tension of a lot of these zombies running out of ammo, all that stuff. Then you have the built tension of, well, I got to get rid of the bodies now. I got to find the it's like kerosene you got to go find and bring and burn them. So there's another layer of tension to that. And then you get the the third layer of tension, which if it does reanimate, it runs after you and it's way harder to take down. So it's probably the best balance you'll ever see of the three.
That's pretty cool. Get a mix of
so
them.
yeah, so unfortunately if you play that game now, you that's been ruined for you. Sorry. So spoiler alert for a game that came out in 2002.
A nice mix of the genre. Just to move back into it, I just think the distinction of zombies and infected is kind of important just for discussing it, because it kind of gets a little blurry without that.
Oh yeah, and just a shout out to Gord King. If you guys ever want to hear Michael Cera playing Resident Evil, check out Gord King's live streams of Resident Evil. You laugh your ass off, man.
That's if I ever do gaming streams, I would probably do Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid stuff. Things I'm really good at, so that way I can still pay attention to the chat.
Oh yeah, I'll probably like play Resident Evil now that I got my new laptop specifically for gaming. So thank fuck for that. And yeah, Philip gets bit, sadly. And what I do appreciate here is the subtlety in the scene is you hear Shaun going like he wants to take care of Philip, but Philip wants him to take care of Barbara. And already the fact that Shaun wants to take care of Philip is already telling, because he knows essentially that Philip is already a goner at this point. He's already been bitten. But the fact that he wants to go and help him just gives you a little bit more that what Barbara told him before was it really did wake him up, you know?
This scene with Philip is fantastic. I love everything that comes out of him in this scene, from the setup of like, you're not driving that car. He's still stubborn. Even though he's bleeding out. But then at the same time, it's like, stop worrying about me, worrying about your mother. Like we get his whole character there, and a perfect setup for what happens in the car, the conversation there, which I think is his best moment.
Do you think that Philip, because he has the previous bite that of course he ran cold water on, so it's all good. But is he simply being stoic for Barbara, and then so he knows that he's already doomed, and then the bite just accelerates, so he's already mentally prepared to tell.
My honest take is it's both. You guys, his stubbornness at first of like, the cold water, those are all real lines, and he slowly gets the sense like throughout these scenes here that this is worse, and that's when the act comes on, and he just wants to stay strong for Barbara. Like he's not stupid, he's not delusional, he can feel this. So I think it's both.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you guys. I think that's just how Philip is, and especially considering that he'd be paying attention to the news, he does seem like someone who'd be paying attention to the signs as opposed to Shaun. I do think that Philip knew that what was coming for him. And so they finally arrive to Liz's place, and Shaun, like, they ring, and I don't remember what happens when they ring. Do they say that they don't want to let him in? I think that's it.
The zombies pull up on him right as he rings the doorbell. So when they answer it, all they hear is like struggling.
Oh yeah.
No, he's battling off like three of them, and it gives you the setup for the climb there. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he comes through the window. Oh, yeah, I like how they use the sound. You just hear him grunting. You're like, what the fuck is that? This is Shaun coming through the window. And at this point, Liz is probably like, yeah, I told him to get his life back on track. And one of the first things he does in the zombie apocalypse is he takes his courage and he comes and sees me and tries to save me. But what he does say is also that it's not about their relationship. It's about survival. And that's the reason why she's swayed to go on his side. But the first person to be swayed on his side is Diane.
I'd say this is the start of his redemption arc in a way, and it's like the point that you just made is really important, where it's not just that they're together or this is that. It's like he needs to make sure that they're safe, and it's just the beginning of him stepping up,
right, taking responsibility as an adult.
Step one.
Yep. And David, of course, he doesn't want to go. I mean, David is just following Liz, so he's just like, Liz, do you want to go? Yeah, I'll go. Okay, I'm going now. It's like, yeah, all right. And so yeah, we have them fighting back, and man, Ed just pops in the Jag, and I just have to play the clip.
Yeah, do it. In there. Oh my god! 2 seconds ago.
I completely forgot that he said the N-word. I was like, what?
Totally forgot. But it's back when people had the balls for that type of thing.
That was the best clip you've ever done.
That's true. I was gonna say right before that though, like when they leave, I love the fight sequence. Like I like the way they shoot it, and the fact that everyone's so timid, like what's going on. But Shaun's already like a veteran at that point. He's already like gone past it. He's popped his cherry, so he's just.
I love how they run out of the apartment, and I don't remember exactly what they have. But I do remember that Diane has like a tree branch.
I think it's like a golf club or like an umbrella.
Well, that
Nobody's
was,
ready.
Liz has
What
it.
is it?
No,
Yeah,
Diane has
it's a
like a
tree
tree
branch.
branch.
She does.
Jesus
A
Christ.
dry,
She
rotten
does.
tree branch. Wow.
Yeah.
And
It
David
doesn't
the
make any
pacifist.
sense at all. Like, where'd you get this tree branch? Like, why was it in your apartment?
That's true. It was probably like
That
a
is true.
decorative piece or something.
I swear she picked that up off the ground.
And then,
And
and
also,
so, yeah, so
David doesn't grab anything to help fight at
The
all.
pacifist.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah,
is
he's a
it?
pacifist.
And, so you finally got Barbara and Liz that meet for the first time, which is something that has been brought up several times since the beginning of the movie. The fact that they still haven't met, despite being together for 3 years, I think is what they say. Yeah, and so Philip is dying completely, and it's such a great scene because Philip is just there saying, "I love you, Shaun. I'm sorry if I hurt you, and all I wanted to do was be a good father to you because I knew that yours wasn't there." And it's like, yeah, man, this is really, really hard on you, and especially considering Philip is the first person out of the people we know to die.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene. Really, really set up well. Like it's the scene I was referencing in terms of some of the best balancing of tone because they give us an opportunity to sit with it. They don't immediately interrupt it with jokes. They're not like completely trying to separate it, but this could have fallen apart in terms of like the tone. But they gave us a second to really enjoy it, and Shaun's reaction to it, like everything's perfect, and it's just really, really, really can't say enough good things about this scene. It's one of the best scenes to highlight for that.
Yeah, it's sort of the redemptive moment for adulthood as well. This is the pinnacle figure of that sort of the threatening adulthood that Shaun's been running away from his entire life. And then it turns out that actually, these people are not these scary other. They are doing their best. It's not easy. Growing up is going to be hard. Taking responsibility, which Shaun is now beginning to do, is going to be hard. You'll have to make sacrifices. But it's the first time you have a character who actually explains that in relatable terms.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes it more powerful, I think.
I think one of the things that he mentions that really hits home is like, man, you were 12 when I met you. Like, you're already so grown. I just wanted you to be strong. I knew you just needed a little guidance in the right direction. Like, he tried his best, and like nobody has all the answers. And this was just such a to fit such a powerful father-son moment in such a tiny scene and it's such a funny movie. It's incredible. I just think it's just pure talent to be able to blend this in.
Yeah, the economy of time that is just because you get the introduction with him where he's essentially given the laundry list, right? In the store of how you need to man up and here are the steps necessary just to do basic stuff, and the rebellion against that, and then Shaun's petulant tantrum that he throws with his mom about Philip, and then but the moment that Philip says, look, you need to look after your mom, don't worry about me, it's fine. And so the thing that they both share is a love of Barbara,
which is what she said,
right? And but it finally hits Shaun that, oh, that's right. And oh, by the way, at a time where as a child you would be obsessed about your own injury or pain or whatever, Philip is worrying about the people that he loves. And then Shaun has taken on the responsibility of going to get Liz and all that. So now he is starting to be in that same role, and he's able to identify with Philip when Philip explains, like, I was just doing this out of love. This is, this is kind of the big boy stuff you got to deal with. And it finally hits Shaun and it sinks in because Shaun has finally taken this step, the first step towards, trying to be an adult.
Yeah, and like just to reinforce that idea, this is why I took this specific screen grab, is because he hits Ed, who when Shaun tells him to stop the car, he basically drifts it because he's finally driving the Jag, and he hits Ed basically, and it's like, yo, fuck you, Ed. I told you to stop. This is a serious moment. You have to be serious sometimes. And so this is the first instance of that disconnect between Shaun and Ed. It's like, it's really well done in the span of what, 45 seconds, I'm guessing. That's pretty much.
It's believable frustration. Like, this is the thing that would make Shaun snap. Totally believe it. And like him saying, just stop fucking telling me to chill out. It just you can just feel how much it's added up on him over time, just weighing him down. And the Philip situation. Yeah. And this is what I mean. They didn't abandon jokes completely, but they managed to give us a chance to sit with this, have the line with Shaun to say, like, yes, he is my dad, and then also put a joke that makes sense in the end. Like, this now is time to do the joke where, like, he turns off the music. Like, that's a good amount of space so we can feel it and then still use it. Like, that's just talent.
Yep. And so then they're on their way to the Winchester, and they meet basically their how would I say this, their dollar store counterparts.
They're
So we've got-
doppelgangers. That's the term you're looking for.
Then boom. It's so good too, because I mean, I know Martin Freeman, they reuse him in is he in Hot Fuzz?
Bilbo. Yeah, he's
No.
the cop. He's the cop that the interview. He's like, oh yeah, at the very beginning when he's getting sent away
Yes.
He's the cop.
He's the cop, and then he's also O-Man in The World's End, which great. And then the rest of them is just I'm not too familiar with the cast, but yeah, bumping into Yvonne again, which is a recurring thing, and it's just so funny because I mean, in another movie, I don't think that this scene would have worked whatsoever. I think that it's just too on paper, it's too stupid to work, you know.
It's very on the nose.
I've seen this scene in Seinfeld. It's probably been like in plenty of other places, but like you can do it, and as long as you're like self-aware and you have fun with it, they usually work.
Yeah, you have to be really self-aware. I mean, you also have to know when to put it into the movie as well. And, it's so yeah. I don't have the clip for that because it's copyright.
Oh.
Copyright, man. I tried. I did try and edit it down.
I'm disappointed.
Dude, these 6 seconds, man, they're really annoying. But
you gotta separate it into 2 6-second clips and just be like, okay,
No.
we'll do the first half. And then
continuity doesn't work. Oh, you know, well, hey, that is actually a good idea. Maybe that could work. But yeah, so Shaun is out here showing us what peak male performance looks like. ladies and gentlemen.
That's clap.
And yeah, just before to know that they were going to the Winchester, we do get some gruesome zombie scenes because we do see Snake Hips being eaten alive by kids or women. Well, woman, because he was what was the word again?
He was
a bigamist.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, there you
All
go.
the
He was a
details in this
bigamist.
movie. I don't think I've ever noticed that one moment that was the dude from the bar.
Yeah, that's how he knew that they were close to the Winchester because that guy
Oh,
always
man.
hangs out at the Winchester. So,
Yeah,
like,
that's why they
Yeah, you
emphasize
see
on
his
his
boots.
And it's all
boots, yeah.
women. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Yeah, I did not notice that.
it's snake tips, I believe. It's not snake hips. I think it's snake tips.
Snake tips, really?
Yeah, the tips of the boots.
Oh, well, you know, that makes much more sense.
Yeah.
So here's Shaun showing us what peak male performance looks
I'm
like.
taking a shortcut before.
You can always hear in the background. There's always like an alarm or something going off in the distance all the time.
Always something going on, and yeah, this is a joke that
bumping
they
into.
recycle in every single movie of the Cornetto trilogy. You've got it in Hot Fuzz, you've got it in The World's End, and it never gets old. So this is something that's pretty weird. I do think that Barbara would probably be in shock, which would explain why she diverts from the group to go to see. I think she says that it's friends of hers that live there, that she thinks lives there.
They actually have a scene for that. Remember when they're doing the acting and she's like, oh, sorry, I was miles away there. Like she's actually kind of spacey. So this kind of fits when it comes to that.
Yep.
And she's, yeah.
And yeah, so it's like the first case of Barbara being in complete shock. And then after that, she does get attacked. And so Shaun gives us another example of what peak male performance looks like.
I'm coming!
You know, in retrospect, out of context, that does sound a bit weird. But yeah, so they basically just pull the man, they stick it in him, and it's such a great thing to do because the way that you can see that they learn from the zombie is something that's pretty inventive. I do think Walking Dead may have been the first. No, well, they probably
this came out before
Yeah,
Walking
yeah.
Dead.
So this would have done it. Now I was keeping in mind the date of the comics because well, I won't spoil Walking Dead here, but in the comics,
I mean, you're talking about a scene from the first season of Walking Dead that came out. Like,
But The Walking Dead is based off a comic. The comic.
Yeah, The
might
Walking
predate
Dead is a
Shaun of the
comic.
Dead.
That's why I'm not too familiar with.
No,
the
what I'm
date
saying
of
is
the
that
comic.
don't worry about a spoiler for a show that's been out for like ever.
Well, just to touch on that, posing as zombies, like The Walking Dead they put guts all over it. They did it better in The Walking Dead, actually. They put guts over themselves.
Yeah,
so
because that's the thing is, it's like you would still smell like a fresh human here.
Yes,
like
but
the one.
Yeah,
yeah.
Shown,
like that's that. I mean, like, of course, we're talking about two different worlds. So, like, maybe in this one, like, these are also all fresh zombies. Like, they're not like, so maybe they don't smell as decomposed as as the ones from Walking Dead would.
Also, I mean, this
Yeah.
film never actually establishes exactly the mechanics for the zombies and how
Exactly.
they identify, the living from the dead and things. I just quite like
Yeah.
the fact that it's probably the one situation. I think the film sort of makes a subtle nod to this as well. The one situation where like amateur dramatic skills is in any way useful to real life. It's when you have to try and pretend to be a zombie.
And they
Oh,
set
yeah.
this up good by saying in the argument, saying, "Oh, you called him a twat and you called her a failed
Or a
actress."
failed
at least
actress,
yeah,
right.
at least we get to know that, So she gets her moment now.
And he never called her a failed actress, but he did
I love
call
that
him a
part.
twat.
I
So
love
yeah.
that part.
And yeah, we get our first view of the Winchester, which is surrounded by zombies. And at this point, I don't really know, man. Wouldn't you stay huddled up in the house where the two zombies were? So you just take
No,
care
you
of those
got to get
two
to the
and-
Winchester. It's the only way.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like-
how much beer is in that house?
So you
No.
didn't have the clip for it, but it is fantastic. Like he's like, you guys stay here, and he
Yeah.
goes up the little ladder of the kids slide, which is not even a full 3 feet above where they're at, and comes back down. Is it clear? Are there zombies? No, a lot.
A lot.
Nope. Yep. Then you get the slow pan of seeing everyone here. It's like, yep, it's pretty good. And there's Shaun's thinking face, if one ever
Which is very
existed.
similar to his
And-
face from the beginning of the movie, might I add.
His facial expressions
Mhm.
throughout the whole movie are just fantastic, man. I love it.
You know,
Is
considering-
this like so? I mean, other than actually, so his apart from his mom getting bit, which he doesn't know about, has
But
he
you actually kind of see
essentially?
she's actually stuck her hand inside of
Yes.
the sleeve.
Yeah, in her
Yeah, that's
sleeve,
not, I didn't
yeah.
notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. His plan has essentially gone well to this point, right? He was going to kill Philip. That ends up happening, although he doesn't directly kill Philip. He's collected everybody, and so his final step is get to the Winchester, and this is where he really runs into the first hard roadblock that may force him to come up with a different plan, which might be why he has this incredibly constipated look on his face.
Well, yeah, and then after that, so they get Diane to teach them how to become zombies, which I do have the clip of, so I will show it.
Okay, let's try, shall we? Barbara, that's excellent.
Sorry, dear, I was miles away.
Much better.
What is that? What about yours? Oh. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Dude, Shaun's is so good.
Shaun's is really good, and Ed is basically just doing the chimpanzee.
orangutan.
Yeah, he's just doing this orangutan.
orangutan. He's just doing the same thing.
I mean, you
So-
can see it right there. He's doing the orangutan clearly. And so yeah, so I mean, they finally make their way all the way to. I put this in because diversity and ESG points in 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, a zombie in a wheelchair. This is.
I feel seen and represented.
Yep, representation right here, man. So don't listen
Representation.
to the bullshit that Disney peddles. This is real representation, man. See yourself in the zombie apocalypse. So I mean, technically, you can't say it's a detriment because they're not the survivor, but fuck it. So yeah, so this is the scene where they finally get to the Winchester, and this is Ed's phone that rings, and the fact of Ed's phone ringing and all of them having to break out of character attracts all the zombies. But this is a second breaking point between Shaun and Ed, which I do find quite interesting because, I mean, you rarely see Shaun snap at Ed at this point, and I think the Philip was the breaking point, and Barbara will be the other breaking point at the end of the movie. What do you guys think about the conflict between Shaun and Ed over here?
I think that Shaun has left the child side because he's taken on responsibility and is feeling that weight, and Ed is still just being a selfish child. And that while it was cute in the past when Shaun was also fairly free of any responsibility, now it's frustrating to him because he's feeling that burden, and he's like, what the hell, you child, why aren't you stepping up as well?
Yeah, I mean, especially after losing Philip, that's where it just became very real for him. And even though the movie does keep the comedic elements, I do love that starting like after Philip's death is when the seriousness of the zombies is constantly present, and it just continuously gets worse until the very end. And so yeah, look at them. Pretty good makeup for what, a $6 million $6 million budget back in 2004 for a little zombie movie. And you know what? To put that in perspective, maybe let me look up.
No,
Dawn
there's
of the
the
Dead.
like the kid still staring directly at the camera.
Where is he? Oh
Right
yeah,
in the
he
middle.
is. He is. Let me just look up the Dawn of the Dead, because the Dawn of the Dead remake came out the same year, and I want to see the.
So they are
budget.
able. So one of the things is that from a distance, there's a lot more zombies than when they zoom in. So
Yes.
they were able to be a little bit more economical with the makeup that they used. Like, you don't need to have much outside from like a really wide pan shot outside of like maybe some blood on people's shirts. You're not really going to be able to tell. So they probably were just they probably just utilized the fact that there was maybe there's like 3 dozen people here. That's a lot easier to deal with than like having hundreds of them all made up.
Yeah, I mean, just like to look at the difference in makeup as well. So I mean, oh my God, you see, I mean, I was about to say something, but my train of thought diverted, because when Shaun initially goes to see Liz the first time before all the zombie stuff happens, there's the pizza dude at the back. And I never saw him again, but thought his costume is way too good for me not to see him again. And I just realized he's there in the back wearing the pizza stuff in the helmet.
Yeah.
Man, such a
Which
nice
also helps that you don't need to, like, some of them are far enough away where you don't really need to, like, the ones that are up close are the ones that are going to need the best makeup jobs. The further away you are, you can kind of like get away with it a little bit further back.
And at this point, the corpses aren't really decomposing, so it's mostly just
Exactly.
people that are either have one bite on them and a couple of like little drops of blood. That's pretty much it. So still, and so they can't get into the Winchester because it's locked, and they don't have any sign of John, the owner. So they don't know if he's there or not. And Philip, instead of listening to Shaun, just throws a trash can into the window, which is bad because, well, they will follow you. So Shaun basically just leaves and diverts all the zombies away, which I think is great. And there you have the payoff of finding the flowers in the trash can, which I do think it's weird that she associates them directly to her, but on the other hand, Shaun always does frequent the Winchester, which she should know as his mother, maybe. I don't know. I feel like they could have set up the fact that she knows Shaun is at the Winchester all the time better for this payoff to be a bit better, you know? What do you guys think?
So, sorry, say your question one more time.
I said for the payoff that's going on right now about the flowers. So you've got Shaun that threw the flowers in before, but Barbara picks up the flowers and she instantly thinks that they're from Shaun.
Yeah, it is a little weird,
which
that
I
she
find
immediately
quite
knows
weird.
that. Yeah, it is a little weird, but
I think
doesn't she read the card?
No, I don't think it's meant to be a particularly sort of deep or even cohesive joke. She's a bit ditzy and dotty. We know that he keeps forgetting flowers, and the ditzy dotty woman just assumes that they might be for her. I think just for a relatively cheap laugh.
Yeah, it's true. That could work too. But I mean, it does become relevant after when she dies, that she tells him, "Oh, I know that you got me flowers," and it just makes her death scene more poignant because of the fact that Shaun actually did get her those flowers. You know, so I may not have had as much as an issue with it if it wasn't that relevant, like at the end, especially for an emotional point.
Do the flowers still have the card?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
She does.
Well,
that's what she says.
But it doesn't have
that
a
would be
name.
easy
It's
because
just like,
but her
they
name
could
is
have anybody that was
right. But
going
if it's handwritten, she's gonna know her son's handwriting.
It wasn't handwritten though.
It was printed.
Yeah, it was printed. They give him 2 options. It's
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's
like
I wouldn't be surprised if like that same type of flower was like at her house or something, and Shaun knew that was the type she liked, and she also knows he goes to the Winchester. And that's pretty much the only thing that can fit it.
Yeah, I think that could work. I mean, the film doesn't do anything to establish that she knows that he goes to the Winchester, but I mean, for me, it's just a minor complaint.
I think that they could have fixed it by having that type of flower being in her house, so we know that she likes that. Like, and she would automatically just something for her to know that this is for her.
Or even when Shaun gives them to names. What's his girlfriend's name?
Liz.
Yeah. Liz. When Shaun gives them to Liz, instead of them being addressed to mum, if they're addressed to his mum specifically, like by name, you'd have had to sacrifice the joke where he tries to, play it off as well because you said you're being my mum. But then you would have had probably a slightly better setup and payoff for this scene and the subsequent one.
And so yeah, so they finally make it into the Winchester by the window that was broken since Shaun had diverted everyone, and Shaun's been gone for about 17 minutes specifically. David says 20, but David is kind of fed up because sorry, Dark Hour, can you take over for a second?
Yeah,
This
sure.
guy's dying again.
I don't know what you were about to say, but he's basically doesn't want any of this because he doesn't think that Shaun is going to come back. He keeps like mentioning that. Let me see. We only have one more slide here.
Everyone basically is like knowing that they have to make the most of this situation, and
Yeah.
he's the one complaining like, "What's the plan? What's this?" He wants like,
yeah.
He wants plan A, B, C. He wants the full rundown when they're trying to figure it out. And Liz, this is where Liz like I keep calling her Liz starts to like really get fed up with him. I think.
Well, yeah, they all
David's
start
like passive aggressive, right? So
he's always aggressive.
Yeah, well, he's always critiquing, but he doesn't actually offer solutions. And the one time that he does is actually terrible because he breaks the damn window to get in.
Yep.
We actually skipped over one of his biggest bitch moves when they did the fucking scene where they were seeing like their doppelgangers. They're like, "Oh, that's your girlfriend Liz." He mentioned like, "Oh, they broke up recently, by the way." Like, he has to be a dick and mention that. Like, why? Wow.
Consistently does that too.
Dickhead.
It's that sort of bitterness because Shaun, who he thinks is, a non-entity and completely worthless, has the one thing in life that he really wants himself.
Yeah. We've all seen one of those guys before.
Yeah, and that's why, all of the focus of his attacks, he's always trying to demean Shaun in front of Liz, including this scene as well, to try and make her see that he really is rubbish, because deep down he really wants her to see that Dave, is actually the superior man, even though he's already hooked up with somebody else. So he is, just that sort of sniveling little prick that everybody knows.
It's ridiculous. And he's just no self-awareness at all. So again, the fact that he can't understand that how obvious he is about it, that everyone can clearly see it. It's pretty pathetic.
Yeah, and then you've got Shaun that makes the greatest return in cinema history because
hog lumps.
now that's badass. And so yeah, he's basically just the commander. Everyone entrusted him with their lives, and he's finally stepping up. When he comes back, he's that new person. Even though the situation is a bit weird because they are the Winchester, and their plan basically falls apart with the fact of them just saying, "Oh yeah, well we can drink and eat peanuts."
That's another thing with David too. Like this situation, the idea of looking at Shaun, this loser, for leadership in any situation is like so difficult for him to deal with. But he has no plans of his own. He's just going along with Liz, right? So he's being tortured right now. It's crazy.
I was actually wondering this question too. Platoon, maybe you could tell us. Is that like a British name for pork rinds? Hog lumps? I don't know.
What's a pork rind?
Pork rind. It's like a fried, like they basically like cut pig skin like really, really thin and fry it. It's almost like a potato chip.
Oh, okay.
Or what Platoon would call a potato crisp.
Okay, I have some in my cupboard actually. Yeah.
There's also pork scratchings, which might be the thing. That's the usual thing you get in a British pub is pork scratchings, which are just like it would be, I guess they're like crackling. If you ever have crackling on like a roast dinner or something, it's
that's kind of similar to what I'm
pork
talking
fat,
about,
which is, but it's thicker and usually crunchier. They are very nice. Taste almost entirely of salt.
Yes.
Yeah, that's and you're probably talking. That's probably your guys' version or name for something for pork rinds. That's what we would call them. So.
And so yeah, so the light turns on finally, so they know that there is a light in the electrical grid. So what they have to do is basically just turn the grid on, and that's when Shaun goes back, and they all followed him, which pretty interesting.
That's such a great scene when he turns it on, looks, turns it back off, closes the window.
Yep. I mean, it's really good to emphasize on how scary the slow walking zombies are. As we said, you can escape, but they will catch up to you. They will follow you. They know that you're there.
These slow-paced scenes are scenes that you can't really do without the slow walking zombies. Like if these are the 28 day later zombies, you couldn't do this. You couldn't just hold up.
Yeah, they're through the door and on you before you even.
No, Shaun would never been able to outrun them.
Yeah,
they don't get tired.
Yeah, it's a completely different dynamic. Just the fact that he can go out to the crowd to lure them out, it's a risk, but it's just you get more options as a writer with slow zombies. I think with fast ones, you're kind of committed.
And then you do get the stereotypical everyone's looking at the screen, going through the channels with all the channels being offline. I do think that this was a good point at which to put into the movie if you wanted to make it, really reference all the other zombie tropes that they have. And at this point, Ed had actually started to turn on the machine. I don't know what machine it was.
It's some sort of like slot machine or something because the coins start coming out.
Yes. And then, so he does turn on the machine, which makes a lot of noise. And Shaun, now aware of the situation outside, doesn't want any noise to be made. But it's already too late, and we get this incredible visual of the zombies just popping up with the white backdrop, and it's like, man, as you said before, man, you can't get this with the 28 weeks or 28 days later. Impossible.
It's also reminiscent of the scene earlier when they were in the lock-in and he's pounding on it, but it's like now it's a lot of them.
So, yeah, that's true.
Then you've got John that finally arrives, and the jukebox starts playing. So
for no reason.
Yeah, it's on random, as they say.
It's because they turned the fuse on and they kind of forgot that that's just there.
Yeah. And so yeah, since it's on random, it does play Queen, which is the big reason why I won't be playing any clips with audio at this part, because copyright is gonna fuck us up.
Yeah.
But the goal is to kill the Queen, which, you know, yikes. That this is just so great. The fact that they sync everything up with the music is Edgar Wright. You can tell that it's Edgar Wright solely because whenever you listen to his commentary on Baby Driver, he says that it's something that he's always thought about, making action scenes go in tune with music, which I do think just adds a bit more intensity and a bit more fun to the scene overall.
Yeah, from editing to action scenes, if you make it in sync or anything, it's always more enjoyable.
Yep, the fact that they're just beating John with sticks. I mean, you could find a better way to get rid of John, but
they're just having fun with the scene for sure. They're more efficient killers at this point, but like they made use of it.
I mean, the pool cues by themselves would have been more efficient if they would have just turned it around and stabbed him in the face with it.
I mean, just try and break it in half and stab him with it. Yeah.
But again, if you're gonna incorporate your personal music taste into the movie, at least find a way to have fun with it, not have us scratching our heads with stupidity. You know. So
yeah,
I don't mind
for sure. And then, so he does.
Reminds of the other Simon Pegg design. Is it Star Trek Beyond, where they destroy all of the evil enemies because they play the Beastie Boys?
Yeah, they play Sabotage.
Jesus Christ, that's
that one's a double because they also have Public Enemy, Fight the Power.
Yeah,
there's some
the
crappy
alien
ways
girl
to do
says,
it.
"I like the shouting."
I mean, it's funny too because it was the entire marketing of that movie was just the sabotage in the trailer the entire time, and when you get to the movie, you're like, they're probably not gonna use the song.
There's no way they use the song, and they
well, especially because they used it in the first JJ Star Trek when Kirk is driving the convertible Corvette, he's playing Sabotage. And I was like, really? You're playing that song again? You're aware the Beastie Boys had more than one song, right?
No,
Sabotage is the only one. It's the one that everyone knows. You know, that's it. That and No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Probably that's pretty much it.
Those are the only two songs that they ever did.
I mean, it would have been hilarious if they were playing "Hey Ladies." That would have been all right.
And then, so basically, Shaun gets caught by John and gets hit, and so he tells David to go and switch off the fuse so that the music stops playing. Where we get David starts fucking up immensely because he's a dumbass and doesn't know how
fuse boxes work.
How a fuse box works. The man, look at this visual.
Ooh, that's a
beautiful.
Great visual. And that guy just
my man is
still
I do. Oh my god, you're so right. You're so right. That's 3 in a row now.
He had to have been told to do it that way. There's no way he did it 3 times.
Maybe once was an accident and then it just kept it going or something as like a ongoing. I don't know, but like that's interesting to point out. I feel like anytime I watch this movie now, I'm gonna notice that.
Oh, dude, I always notice this.
I mean, in fairness, in this one, a bunch of people are looking right into the camera. So,
yeah, I think it's one of those shots that they did like promotion. I mean, you've even got the woman that's just smiling at the camera. She's not even acting like a zombie on the left. So you see behind the guy that's looking at the camera, you're right behind him. That row
the one
of
with
people,
the sunken eyes.
2 to the left. Yeah, the one with the sunken eyes, just like smiling.
That's a dude. That's not a woman. I don't think.
That's a woman. Or
no, there's
like I think it's an old man.
Yeah, there's an old man who's just chilling there.
They are English, so I understand it's hard to tell the difference. But I believe it is a woman.
All right,
Is that a woman?
It is a woman.
I think what Platoon is saying is when English people get old enough, they just kind of become androgynous. I think that's what he's trying to say.
They become something. That's it.
Androgynous kind of implies that they're much prettier. They just become. It ceases to be relevant. Let's put it that way, because you're not going to want to fuck them either way.
Either way, we're just.
That's a great stop, too.
And so who is it? It's Diane that starts throwing darts, and
Yes.
she just gets it through Shaun's skull, which, damn.
This is an example of Simon Pegg's just talent for delivery, because you know the second setup is going to be that he gets hit with it, right? You know it's coming, but then it's still fucking hilarious. Just the fact that they committed to it, smacking him in the head, and the way he fucking delivers his it's so perfect. Like, this is all on him for sure.
Yeah, and they finally used John to kill the queen, and pretty good way of getting rid of John.
He's very lucky that this happens to be in England, where the English darts tend to have a smaller like spike end. Like American style darts tend to be a little bit longer. They would have killed him with an American style
They're
dart.
still pretty long. I think.
Yeah, it still probably would have killed.
That's gone through the skull quite comfortably through the skull.
I don't think Diane has the technique to throw hard enough to get that thing through a skull.
But she did. So
yeah, here's the proof, man. Here it is, Jay. Look, this is science, irrefutable evidence.
Yeah, it's stuck in his toupee.
And the Winchester works. There it is. I had to get the shot of the sparks, so take a drink. The
fact that they left it up there loaded the whole time is insane. Is like there's so many safety protocols that are being broken.
I mean, you always have to be ready. You never know when the zombie apocalypse is gonna come, and you won't have time to search for your bullets. So,
and did he rack the lever on that, or did he just?
I know. So that means it was
right. So it had one in the chamber, right?
Yeah, it had one in the chamber ready. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit sketch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, John was probably having a tough life, man. Who can blame him?
I think one of the things we forgot to mention earlier is when Ed was talking to Shaun, trying to cheer him up. He basically summarizes their entire night, and this is the third part of what he says, like back at the bar for shots. If you everything that he says actually like played out, and this is that third part of it.
Oh yeah,
it just happens to be the different kind of shots. That
yeah.
I mean, completely perfected in The World's End, where the entire intro of that movie just tells you every single thing that's going to happen.
I still need to see that one. That's
dude,
I've seen.
You should really watch it.
I'm the same. I haven't seen the third one. Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it.
You might not like it at the beginning. So on your first watch, you might not like it. However, if you go back and revisit it, maybe a couple of months or years later, it will grow on you immensely, and it will probably become your favorite of the trilogy.
It's interesting you say that. I've heard many people say that it's probably the weakest of the three because it's hard to beat the first two, but it ages really well, and it's the type of thing that like you can really. You might get something a little bit more meaningful from it. So like there's still substance. There's still substance there to be had. I just hope it clicks with the other two, because like I hope it's as good a trilogy as people say.
My impression was always, because I don't even know if I've seen it a second time. I don't think I've seen it more than twice. Certainly not more than twice. But that's always the one that never really clicked with me at all. World's End, which is why I've only seen it once or twice. Because certainly after the first time, I thought it's okay. It's just kind of yeah.
Well, then maybe you're due for the other part of it that I mentioned, because a lot of people said the same thing. It didn't click with them as much as because they're expecting way more because of the other two, but then they rewatched it.
I might have to go and give it another one.
Yeah, and I really think that's the big key for storytelling. Like I watch everything with hoping that it's good enough to be rewatched, because when you rewatch things, you get the truth. You know how you felt the first time, but the rewatch is just everything clicks. So I think I really think, especially since he just said that, it's probably one of those ones that deserves a rewatch.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it has immense. It's just it hits you much harder after you've grown up a bit and experienced some more stuff in life. And it really, really hits hard, which is why it's my personal favorite of the Cornetto trilogy. After a second watch,
just the fact that you say that makes me curious, because it just that probably means to me that it fits well in with this, but it's not. It's different enough from the other two that it didn't appeal to a lot of people, but there's still a lot of stuff.
It fits a lot with the themes the Shaun of the Dead has of trying to become an adult, basically. Because Shaun is the same character in that movie. Simon Pegg is the same character in that movie, and but it just takes a much different approach. Which, of course, I can understand why people didn't like it the first time, because of course you have Cornetto trilogy in mind. You have the first two, which are incredible, especially considering Hot Fuzz topped Shaun of the Dead, which wow. But yeah, give it a rewatch. And so you have Shaun that's finally ready, and just like the beginning of the movie, Ed is going to point out where to shoot. Whereas at the beginning of the movie, you had Shaun that was showing Ed where to shoot when he was playing, I think it was Call of Duty or something like that. And during this time, you've got Barbara that's finally coming to terms with her death that's about to happen, and she gives a Liz, I don't know what it was. I think it was her necklace. I'm not too sure. I forget if it's a necklace or bracelet.
It's her necklace. That's how she notices, because she goes up like this, and that's how she notices the arm.
It was from Shaun's real father, she said too.
Yeah. And at this point, she doesn't know the Liz and Shaun have broken up, so it is still an impactful moment. And I do appreciate Liz not telling her that they aren't. She tries to, but she understands right after she sees the napkins on her hand and the blood. So yeah, then I had to grab this shot because man, this was a pretty nice screen grab.
Because muzzle flare is awesome. That's why.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, it's weird because the muzzle flare added a bit of noise and grain in the shot, which there isn't that much in the movie. Where
it still looks good though. It actually looks. If the whole movie was shot like that, it wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, this is how like Planet Terror is shot.
Yeah.
And so let's see Shaun and his shooting skills, because you can tell that this motherfucker is not American.
3 o'clock. Keep it simple.
Yeah, if there's one thing we Americans are really good at, it's shooting things.
Yep. I mean, at least you can go to the gun range. Platoon, I don't know. Are there gun ranges in London or in the UK?
Most of London is a gun range by some definitions. But as for official, I don't actually. There are shooting clubs and things, but because nowadays you're only really allowed to have firearms under exceptionally rare circumstances, and you need like really strict licenses to do it. A lot of it is quite old-fashioned sort of country club activity, as opposed to just sort of anyone can go and pick up a pistol and fire a few rounds. It's more of an upper class thing, ironically. Either you're a criminal and you use them professionally, or you're quite rich and you do it for fun. But there's not a huge amount sort of in between those two positions.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing over here as well. I wanted to go to the gun range, but my dad told me you mostly have to be in a club and stuff like that. So I might go with my grandpa because, weirdly enough, my grandpa is he has a full shelf of awards of shooting and bowling. So pretty weird, man. But yeah, he's like a marksman. He can be a sniper. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Just go on vacation in like any southern state of the United States, you'll be fine. You just walk into any like gun range. It's not like a membership for the most part.
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
they might not accept.
You pay like a daily fee and like rent a gun.
They'll be like, "Fuck you, you're French, man. You can't handle guns." There you go. Piss off.
They'll walk you through a safety course.
That's all they'll do is they'll just tell you like, this is how you do it. This is what you do, and then
they give you a course. I was gonna say,
shoot yourself. That's it. Boom.
When I went to the gun range, the targets that they use were zombies. So it's so funny that you
you can buy a lot of times they have like generic ones, or you can buy like different ones if you want.
Yeah, dude, I'd get a zombie one. But yeah, moral of the story: Shaun can't shoot for shit, but he does manage to get one headshot, and damn, looks pretty good. I think maybe they had like enough money just for one headshot. That's why they saved it. But yeah. So at this point, you've got Shaun that's given the gun to Ed. So this is relevant later. So Shaun gives the gun to Ed to go and see his mom, because Liz is basically like half crying and saying that something's wrong with Barbara. Then by that time, you've got Ed that gives the gun to Diane, and then Diane gives the gun to David, which, you know, is what leads us to this incredibly dramatic moment where Barbara is dead and David has the gun. And David in this situation is completely reasonable, in my opinion, except that I just think that he should have maybe waited, you know, just a second for Shaun to try and process it.
That's the timing.
Yeah.
It's also it's partly the fact that he doesn't wait is that he's doing this vindictively, because we've set up the fact that he's a pacifist already, so that this is not normal behavior. He's doing it because he thinks this is a way of showing Shaun up. He really, really doesn't like Shaun and really does think he's useless. This is the way of doing the most damage in the shortest amount of time in his addled mind, I think.
And they can all tell that right away. That's why it works. It's not just the fact that he's doing it vindictively. It's so obvious to them. Like, give us a moment here. We know she's going to turn, but let Shaun have his moment. He's literally interrupting the moment for something that they all know that is going to happen. They'll deal with it when it comes. So this is just like earlier, where he's like asking for the plan, trying to get to the next step, and they're just trying to deal with the situation at hand. He's just in a complete state of his own.
Yeah, and so that leads us to the Mexican standoff where, you know, I think it's Ed or Shaun that's decent enough to give Diane a broken bottle, which, you know, Ed. So, but yeah, man, Simon Pegg's acting in this scene is fucking great, man.
Because I think Diane says this isn't really fair. Ed hands her and then he grabs the
like a
the corkscrew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and so yeah, man, I just really think that as I was saying in the before when we started, you have to let conflict be the base of your movie, and then wrap it around this like a zombie story to make sure that it just pulls it to levels that you won't get in your casual day-to-day life. And this is a clear example of it. This entire scene of David clearly just wanting to kill what Shaun loves, literally, and then he does proceed by trying to kill Shaun himself, which holy fuck, man, what the fuck were you thinking, David?
Exposed.
And
completely exposed himself.
Yep. So he does kill Barbara. I did save this for the splash. So yeah, I mean, we've got so much blood in this one. It's probably not monetized anyway. So who gives a shit? and so yeah, so you've got David over there who actually pulls the trigger, and thankfully there's no bullets in it. Because I mean, going through David's head, what would he think happened? Because at this point, everyone is against you, of course. However, they are still considerate of the fact that it is a zombie apocalypse. We're not just going to throw you out of here, you know? So it's something that I find pretty interesting.
He just completely panicked and he exposed himself here, like his feelings towards Shaun, his embarrassment of the situation. What I was saying earlier about like the fact that having to be led by Shaun and look at him as a leader, and like he's just humiliated right now because of how high he holds himself. And then him getting, I really think if there was a bullet and he killed Shaun, he would try to claim self-defense. He wouldn't feel any way about it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he would have probably shot Ed at the same time if there was a second one. And what would the woman do? They wouldn't do jack shit to him. They'd just be scared at this point. And he'd say, "Yeah, let me be your leader." It's like, Jesus, man, David is
like, now I have all the bitches. That's what he would say.
And I do like this scene because Diane is the only person that really faces David at this point, and it's like, David, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't you. I mean, maybe it is, but yeah, this isn't correct. But David, of course, he's very embarrassed by the situation, and he does the rookie mistake of standing in front of a fucking window in a zombie movie, which this is the only movie that I've seen and that I can actually remember that did this trope correctly. All the other ones, you can see it coming, but here you're so invested in the scene where you're like, maybe they won't, do it. But what did you guys think? Were you guys expecting it when you see the framing?
I think it works both ways. I think it's set up well enough to where you might not expect it, and even if you expect it, it's just like you're like you said, you're so invested in the situation and him like completely being exposed here finally. Like if you're paying attention, then you probably want this guy to finally get his moment of like just being a dick the entire movie. So you're waiting for that payment, and then suddenly it happens. So
I also love that he violates the sign there beside him where it says, "Would patrons please be quiet and orderly when leaving the premises." He is neither.
Yeah, you can see it coming. I guess. I mean, it's nicely shot, but it's going back to what you were saying earlier on, inspired about sort of the importance of making conflict the absolute driving thing. We've clearly established that he has crossed the line. He has alienated every single other person in the room, including the person who's nominally his girlfriend. That's conveyed in every single way, including by just the camera shots, having them all bunched together opposite him as he's backing away toward the window. And I think you can kind of see what comes next, but you don't necessarily expect the manner in which it comes next. The shock value is how gross it becomes, but you can kind of see it's almost like fate is inevitably pushing him back toward the zombies because of his own actions. He's cracked under the pressure. The worst part of his nature has come out. In a weird way, he's actually Shane from The Walking Dead. He's the closest analog to a character in The Walking Dead. Is because this is quite a similar character dynamics at play. Secretly loves somebody who he can't have. The stress and the pressure and the tension drive him to insanity, and ultimately are responsible for his downfall.
Yep. And well, who wants to see his downfall in glorious 4K? Fuck everyone. It. R.I.P. David.
I love that the limbs
start flopping off everywhere.
and they're
it's
responsible
fucking
for two
beautiful.
of them. That's the best part.
Yeah, man. I mean, look at this. I even put a version without audio so that we could talk over it while it was happening. Because man, this death scene is fucking glorious. Jesus, man.
Yeah, definitely Day of the Dead.
Oh yeah, Day of the Dead. Yeah, especially considering that movie was dark as fuck, man. And
Yeah, but the where they're ripping the guts out and what is he?
He
Like
kind of
choking him or something like that?
underplays it a little bit though. Like if you look at him, he's just kind of like, oh, I'm
he's
in
waving his
pain.
tongue
Like,
around. That's pretty much it.
He's a
just
pacifist to the end. He just lays there and takes it.
I like that she still goes after him as well. You know,
Yeah,
even though
like
she
as
knows he's a dick and she knows he doesn't love her, but she is loyal and she probably does still love him.
Of all the
So
things
she
you
goes
point out
right
that he's
there.
a dick and unloyal, how about quartered and dead? Those are the other two things that she wouldn't really have to go after him for.
You
That's
know,
what I'm saying. This
Well,
says so much
some
about
women can be very forgiving. There's a lot of things that they can put up with, and you know, if you're quartered, I don't know that necessarily has to be the end of a relationship.
Yeah,
No.
apparently.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
someone said that there's an ending for her. Like they actually tell
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happened to her.
Yeah, so do you guys want to know if Diane survives or not and how weirdly it happens? So basically she survives by climbing up a tree. So this
That's
is
what I
from the it's called Plot Holes, and it was an extra on the Blu-ray, the DVDs. And so it was plot holes where they explored, you know, people that you just saw disappear and didn't know if they were dead or not. And so they say that she survived a tree with David's leg. Actually, she climbed it up with his leg. She stayed up in the tree and actually fell asleep because she was just overwhelmed with emotion. And when she woke up the next day, all the zombies had been evacuated and London was in a quarantine zone. So she made it out alive, and they end by saying that she's still in contact and sends Christmas postcards to Shaun and Liz. So she does survive.
Boom.
Which-
Good.
fucking great, man. I mean, it's a bit weird, but at least she did. Because man, I really feel like if she died here, it would be very, very sad considering what we said before about their relationship and how he never really loved her. So man, it would have been a very bitter ending for me. At this point, zombies are just swarming in everywhere, and Liz is holding her like these many zombies. She's holding them with a stool, I think, and pushing against them, and it's working, which no, that shit would never work, man. They'd get overrun in a second while Shaun is shooting, and Ed is behind the bar making some Molotov cocktails, the best kind. And Pete is back, everyone. Pete makes a return, naked, glorious, and he essentially is the reason why Ed dies, because Ed is just so angry at Pete and wants to lash out his anger at him. And that was his downfall, which, I mean, yeah, it tells you about Ed's character too, that he was kind of like David in a sort of way. So, but Pete does get his comeuppance. Another headshot. And yeah, so I mean, at this point, the situation is completely dire. You're just stuck behind the bar with nothing. I think they have I think it's like, oh no, they don't have the bullets on them because the bullets are on the counter, which get flamed after. And basically, the bullets that aren't pointing anywhere get more headshots than Shaun ever did, which funny touch as well.
He doesn't know that when he lights them up, and then he asks for a break, and then that's when the headshots pop off.
Yep. And Ed is still alive, thankfully, but not for long. And they are about to abandon, except that Ed, since he knows the ins and outs, which is why he wanted to go to the Winchester, he points out that there's the basement that you can escape from, which, again, Ed is there. And, at this point, it's a completely dire situation. They're stuck in the basement. However, if I remember correctly, Liz wants a smoke, but Shaun abandoned smoking after they had their conversation when she broke up with him, and he had thrown them into the bin at her apartment, and this means that she stole them because she was just stressed out and needed a smoke. Which, hey, we understand, Liz, it happens. Because of the smoke, they actually see. I think it's the red. Yes.
Yeah, it's the buttons to raise up the lift.
Exactly. They raise up the lift, and this is just the last poignant scene between Shaun and Ed, which ends with the funny fart joke, which of course, is relevant and works in context because it's something that they did. And man, what do you guys think about Ed's triumphant death?
Solid.
Yeah, it's solid. I mean, he gets to play off the joke that they had done earlier in the movie, and it doesn't. He's helping. He's showing growth. Like he accepts responsibility for probably the first time in the entire movie, and he in that moment he's like, no, like don't. Because he doesn't want to leave him. He does. What is it? Shaun doesn't want to leave him. He wants to bring him with them. And it's like, no, I have to stay behind. You can't, keep dragging me along. Even in this situation, it's pointless essentially.
Yep. Man, it's really good, and it's quite cathartic for Shaun. And yeah, they finally make it out because it's a completely dire situation. They make it out. He lights him his last cigarette, which, I mean, what do you guys think of this weird trope of everyone having their last smoke before they die? I kind of like it, but I do think that it does work sometimes and it doesn't. In this case, it clearly does. But man, it's a really annoying trope. Would you? I don't know if there are any smokers among the panel, but if you're completely dying and in Ed's situation, would you ask for a smoke?
Hell yes.
Yeah,
I definitely think they would. This is not without a question. Yeah. Anything to relieve the tension of this moment. It's I wouldn't even call it a bad trope because it's understandable in almost any death situation. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, you'd give me some Reverend Green, man. I'd be like, yo, what's good, man?
I mean,
that's it.
I like how you're like, I don't know if there's any smokers on the panel, and then just look at Platoon's.
I'm just like, yeah,
avatar.
My eyes.
I know. I'm on the
you've probably heard my
if I was
he's on the vapes nowadays. Like, might as well at that point.
Yeah, true. I mean, even me, every time I talk about Reverend Green, that's a reference to The World's End because they call the dude the Reverend Green, the drug dealer. So yeah, Cornetto. To finally make it out, of course. And yeah, it's a completely bad situation. It's fucked. But let me present to you argument number 1 as to why the zombie apocalypse would never fucking happen.
Yep.
And
Yep.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the zombie apocalypse will never fucking happen, because people are armed to the teeth. Unless, let's say, so the only scenario I was thinking that a zombie apocalypse could actually happen properly without being contained, because let's face it, if people are actually zombies, the government won't hesitate killing innocents and stuff like that, like they do in 28 Weeks Later. They won't give a shit. So it would be maybe starting on a military base, but even then, the situation would be snuffed out quickly because they just bombed the base or something like that. So zombie apocalypses will never fucking happen unless every single person turns into a zombie.
It's something they ignore in a lot of movies, that like it just can completely eliminated within 48 hours. They would wipe them out.
For sure.
It's part of the reason I really like the premise in The Last of Us, because that's one of the concepts of like I think this could work if you actually like let it play out. But like Platoon said, they kind of just skipped over it to get to our post-apocalyptic vibe.
Yeah, so, you kind of, there has to be a cause for the zombies, which is not the zombies themselves. So even The Walking Dead does this, the idea that everybody is infected with whatever the hell it is they're infected by. So it's not just that like one person becomes a zombie and all of the plague spreads from that one zombie biting everyone. It's that no, anyone who dies in any situation will come back to life, and theoretically that can happen en masse. Or in the Last of Us iteration, that you could theoretically kill all of the currently walking cordyceps, but you would still have the problem of the fungus. And also the fungus is spread worldwide, so you're going to be overwhelmed. With sufficient numbers and sufficient cores which can't be immediately eliminated by guns, then zombie apocalypse is not impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's also a time frame. So
yes,
you can absolutely have one hell of an apocalypse for a few days. Because if we know nothing about government, we know that it's slow to respond and turns like a battleship, right? So you have to have the decision makers actually decide that they're going to fire. They have enough confidence that they're going to fire on their own civilians, even though they may not be fully cognizant anymore because they're zombies. But also concerns of collateral damage. Is this going to be sufficient? What's the necessary force? And the entire time, depending on what's causing the zombies, you're losing ground in that fight. So as long as the outbreak is slow enough and government makes the decision quick enough, you can suppress it, but you're going to have a pretty hellish couple of days before they can
even then it might even be longer, because the zombie apocalypse will break out and the government says, right, we're going to have to nuke this particular city, and people like AOC will be calling for a ceasefire, so it won't happen.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but they just get rid of people like AOC at that time, because they just say, yeah, fuck the Geneva Convention, fuck everything else, and let's just bomb everyone.
I don't think the Geneva Convention applies to the undead.
Yeah, I don't know that the undead are signatories.
I cannot stress enough that people from outside the United States do not appreciate how many guns are here. Like it is like, as soon as chaos would start, there would be and people just were able to do it themselves. It would just it wouldn't even have to rely on the government at that point. Certainly,
they would be united. So many places that have guns, like they wouldn't even need to wait for that.
Texas, Florida, Louisiana, places like that would be just fine.
Yeah, so I think well, so there is a problem with that in that so if you have you notice that all the TV stations are offline, right? The assumption is that most lines of communication are no longer in operation. So what you would have is pockets of resistance where it's locally organized, but it's hard to mount a broad response when it's just little pockets of people doing things, right? So it might be kind of an ad hoc response, but you're not going to have the kind of overwhelming response that you could have with a nation state with a proper military and long lines of communication.
I mean, I think that's what they did in Night of the Living Dead. At the end, it was just like pockets of resistance that come and kill and clear the house. The local sheriff and everyone that's armed in the community, basically.
Yeah, towns would group up. People would be hopping into trucks. They'd grab all the guns they have. They'd be united instantly because there's
but the thing is that again, so I could solve an outbreak in my neighborhood because I have enough ammunition to deal with that, right? But that doesn't solve it for the city, and so you're going to have. Yeah, you may end it in certain areas, but it's going to take a long time to suppress it all the way across. And you don't know, certain areas that do get overwhelmed, right? That enough of them are infected and you don't have a rapid enough response, and that those people are overwhelmed. You only have so much ammunition.
They'd nuke the fucking city. I won't even lie. I'm 100% sure that if something like this really happened and a city was overtaken, regardless of innocent lives, they'd nuke the place.
Yeah.
Really. And the situation would be solved in a second, unless they're allergic to mutations and bombings from nukes. So that could be something to explore.
Well, or that it's viral and the fallout
Airborne,
could include the virus and actually spread it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Radiation makes them stronger. You have rat zombies.
Exactly.
You get Night of the Lepus with giant rabbits attacking things.
Oh God. But so we finally bump into Yvonne for one last time, and Yvonne basically brought in the military, is what I understand. So I'm not too sure of this. She said that she was leaving and came across these guys, and so she said that since she had seen Shaun with the other people, they all came back because she told them that there might be survivors. I think you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But and so she's the only survivor of her group. At least that's what she implies. And then we end the day with a happily ever after, and nice shot of Shaun's ass and Liz's ass too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there we go.
A little bit for everybody.
Yeah, for everyone. Then you get zombies from hell. You get the CNN. I don't know if it's CNN, but this is an actual anchor,
it'd
right?
be BBC.
I think he's ITV.
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 I don't know your guys' stations. So
I just recognize him as an actual anchor from real life, but I don't know where I've seen him before. And then you've got the zombie aid.
There's the thing people were joking about AOC. There you have it right there.
Yep, it would happen. It would happen 100%.
Oh man.
Just to throw in real quick.
Go ahead.
In terms of not for zombies but for aliens, District 9 is one of the movies that actually explores that in a realistic way.
Yeah.
Such an underrated movie. Let me just throw that
for
out
sure.
there. Back to
for sure, man. 100%. And we get Rafe Spall again. We can see where he ended up. He ended up a zombie, and they start using them for menial tasks essentially. And
he's actually more efficient as a zombie because he's not talking on his phone.
Yeah, it's true.
And they use him for Japanese style game shows as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we get Shaun and Liz in their perfect happy life with Shaun keeping Ed in the shed, as
The
we said before.
balance, the balance he needed.
Yep. And yeah, man. I mean, I do think it's sad because for Shaun to have the perfect life, he had to get rid of Ed. But
All he needed was a zombie apocalypse. That's
yep,
it.
that was it. And yeah, directed by Edgar Wright. And here are a couple of BTS shots that I found. So Bill Nye was looking cool in this. I took it.
He has
Here's
not
when,
changed. This was 2004, and he looks exactly
Yes.
the same.
I think he was born looking like he was about 55 years old. And
I've never seen him young.
No.
I mean, you've got
kind of
Underworld
like
is
the British Steve
2003
Martin.
also. Yeah.
He's like the British
True,
Steve
true,
Martin.
true.
He just he always has looked the same age our entire lives.
Mhm. I mean, you look at Underworld. Underworld was 2003, shot in 2002. He still looks old as fuck in that. It's like
yeah, you're
Jesus,
right.
man. And so yeah, this for Dark Hour because he likes the scene. So they're all your doppelgangers. And Pete and Ed,
Nice.
and one last one with Edgar Wright and Liz and Diane. And
I'll tell you
Simon
one thing.
Pegg.
Just looking at these pictures, you could tell they had a lot of fun with
I was
this movie.
about to say
Oh,
the
for
same
sure.
thing. They probably had so much fun. And look how
They
well
had
it's
a lot of
aged.
fun.
Yeah, which is usually a sign that the movie isn't well put together, but in this instance, not. So like
Yes.
apparently they bridged the gap between like everybody loved it and still were efficient at making the movie. Which is
Adam Sandler should learn a thing or two,
Tiger Waititi should learn a thing or two. Like you
yeah,
can have
exactly.
fun.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah,
It's like
Well, I
you
think
can have
there's a
fun
difference
and still make a
between-
good story.
You'll see a lot of people that said, "Oh, it was so much fun and all that stuff," but it ends up being a shit show.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh, I had fun.
I think the difference is that when everybody has a passion for the project, you work hard, it's still enjoyable, but you put in the work. It's not just we're laughing and joking. We all have a focus on what we're trying to create, and that's where the fun comes from. And you can see the dedication that everybody had to that.
That's going to be most projects. They got to be all on board, and everyone in this just seemed really committed. It's part of the reason it worked.
I mean, I am also shocked that Simon Pegg is listed as the writer because I don't think that he's written a lot since the Cornetto trilogy. And considering that Edgar Wright also writes and directs, almost I think exclusively writes most of his movies, I really wonder how much Simon Pegg actually had an input in the script. Or else, if he was as good as Edgar Wright was writing, why not write your own stuff?
Do you wonder if maybe it was Simon Pegg's idea and he kind of did the initial flesh out and then they worked together to finish out, but Edgar Wright was like, well, it was your idea, so let's give you the writing credit.
I think he and Nick Frost didn't they write most of Spaced? So there was that TV show, low
that they
budget,
had
is
on
kind of the
before.
precursor to, which makes them quite famous, and Shaun of the Dead sort of as a response to that. I think that he co-wrote a lot of those episodes, and they have a similar-ish tone in places. I've not seen a huge amount of it, but those episodes I've seen, you can kind of tell. And Simon Pegg is brought in to do as the acceptable face of nerddom. That's why he's brought into Hollywood, and that is a writing role when he's helping out on Star Wars and Star Trek and things like that, which is not good, but is proof that he does do writing. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Shaun of the Dead is like his idea and a lot of script input, but then the script itself is finesse toned and then shaped.
Yeah, I think so too. Because so I was just looking this up. So he is co-writer on the entire Cornetto trilogy. However, he did write one with Nick Frost and himself alone, and it's a movie I think you guys know. It's Paul, the Alien movie from 2011. So you can see a bit of like the similar type of comedy. However, the plot and how tight it is, I do think that comes directly from Edgar Wright, because you have that. It's nowhere near as good as that in Paul. Even though it is, a comedic movie.
It was the combination of all of them that made the Cornetto trilogy work. You can see that they haven't had anything as successful or as quality since.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Shaun of the Dead on Tuhos. And so yeah, man. Anyone got any last things to say about the movie?
Just fucking
honestly,
all-time classic. Like I think it's like one of the best zombie movies ever made and one of the best comedies like ever made. It's just it really does. It's worthy of all the hype.
Oh yeah, and we'll do the ranking of the Cornetto trilogy. Well, you guys can't do the trilogy because you haven't seen The World's
Yeah,
End.
I've only seen the two, so obviously I'll just do the two real quick.
All right, between the two, what would you choose?
I would probably say that Hot Fuzz is better, just a little bit. I don't think it's
All right,
much
so
better.
not objectively, but subjectively, what would you prefer rewatching?
Probably Hot Fuzz, but yeah.
What about you, Brooks?
Hot Fuzz is they took what they started here, and I think they mastered it in Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is like significantly well written, where this one has a couple of things here and there that you can deal with. But which one is an easier rewatch? I'd say Shaun of the Dead. It's just much more chill and like casual, where Hot Fuzz is a very complex plot that you have to really be in the mood to be able to take in.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the type of movie you can watch as casually, but it's significantly better if you're in the mood for it. And the setups and payoff in that is, I think it's probably the best movie for teaching setups and payoffs. There's so many things that like the Aaron A. Aronson joke is like one of my favorite jokes I've ever seen in a movie. Like I can't, like, you're just showing off at this point in terms of your skill. Like I love that joke. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And Platoon, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, World's End. Hot Fuzz as the extra special place because I live in a village which is very much like the one in Hot Fuzz. And I know people who are very much like, and we have the neighborhood watch and we have all of that stuff, so I can see it happening.
Really?
Here, much like fascism. So yeah.
Well, that must have been a trip for you, like just how close to home it was, you know?
Yeah, it just adds that little extra niceness to it. So yeah, it's fun to see so much familiar stuff.
One of the things a lot of people always praise Hot Fuzz for is that like I'm happy to find out that that it's realistic from your perspective, because it just, we feel like I grew up in Canada, right?
Exaggerated.
So yeah, no, but being able to get thrown into that culture, it just feels like homely, like this feels like authentic, which is legit.
And Jake, what about you? What do you pick?
I think that Hot Fuzz is the more technically well executed movie, and certainly from the script side, there's a sophistication to it that kind of puts it at the top for me. But I think that if I'm sitting down and I want to watch, between those two, I would rather watch Shaun of the Dead. I think the world and the kind of emotional adjustments that they're making to these absurd situations, and their slow realization of what's going on and having to change up who they are. I think I prefer this movie just from the kind of that psychological social aspect.
Yeah. All right. I mean, for me, it's probably going to be Hot Fuzz, just because, I mean, the amount of one-liners that I can quote in Hot Fuzz are way too many. Probably most of any movie ever. So I just love it. But if we add The World's End to the mix, I've said this already, The World's End for me, like my favorite out of the entire trilogy. Just rewatch him, and it'll plug your heartstrings a bit too much. But yeah, I think we're about done with it. So I think I should make like an edit or something where it goes like Wheel of Fortune, except that I should like plug your shit.
We really should.
Yeah.
But one thing before we do that, I do want to make a small announcement. So I had a couple of, before like my channel started to actually get any kind of traction and stuff, I had like a different way of doing this by myself, which was really difficult. But like I had guests, but I was doing like the slides myself and all that stuff. I didn't even really have slides. But we have recovered some of the old archival footage of those, and we will be posting them on our shared channel. So they're actually already there. I'm just going to release them. So a couple of people who have already been on the channel are in those. So they will be released in the basically as soon as we get off of here. So.
Yep. So it's plug your shit time, and so I'll go by bottom to top. So Platoon, what do you have cooking, or what have you already cooked?
I'm continuing to soak the old ass until the Marvels comes out. So it's just like wall to wall Ahsoka. Part 2 is tomorrow. It's already cleared copyright. Now I've said that inevitably it will get hit by one later tonight. But
you jinxed yourself.
Yeah, it always happens. But yeah, part 2 should be out tomorrow, and I'll be on Browns after that. And then theoretically it will be Wednesday, Sunday releases until the Marvels comes out, and that's obviously the next big one, which everyone's really, really looking forward to. But in the meantime, Ahsoka.
Nice. And Jay, what about you, man?
Well, I for one am looking forward to Platoon, talking more about Huge Wang. That's very important. Although I'm really hoping you throw in enormous genitals at some point. So I think I'm on Stupenzo's stream on Monday,
Nice.
and then Fridays always on B-Sides with Adam Gray, where we cover some of the most terrible movies that have ever been made,
some of the worst movies ever,
and live watch them, and then try and maintain our sanity and give some sort of explanation, as uninspired as has been subjected to more than a few times.
I'll be on with you guys on a Friday.
Yeah, I do have one question. Dark Hour, as Joe Rogaine, have you ever apologized for your role in making Brandon Schaub famous?
Actually, so it was funny. When I was on Drinker's channel the very first time, it was a happy hour over a year ago, and somebody the open bar before that or something had sent a super chat about his opinion of Brendan Schaub, and he was like, I have no idea who that is. And I was on the next, I was like on like 4 days later, and I was like, hey, can I answer a super chat from last week?
That's my boy.
And no, I actually hate Brendan Schaub. Actually,
he's so unfunny.
But like, I didn't even like him when he was a fighter.
He's a former UFC heavyweight that became an influencer, and he sucks at both.
Yeah,
sucks ass, man. He tried to become a comedian. He sucks ass at that too.
In fairness, he wasn't a bad fighter. He just wasn't a great fighter.
He wasn't talented. He was at the bottom end of okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you make it to where he was, you have to at least have some skill. But he just wasn't as good as he needed to be. But yeah, I apologize as on behalf of the Joe Rogan experience for
giving him a
subjected
platform
people to him.
Yes.
So Jay is on Atom Gray, who's in the chat. It's his channel, so it's B-Sides, B-roll stage. I plugged it over there. Platoons also plugged it over there, but all the links are in the description as well. And Jedi Brooks, plug your shit.
I am working on a big ass Marvel video, so introducing a new format. It's going to be probably like top 5. So basically breaking down the top 5 ruined Marvel characters, and each one is I want to go into significant detail. Like basically each one could have been their own video, and I decided to commit it to like more of a long form one, and it's definitely going to be one of the more long ones, not like the scene comparison ones where it's much more usually on the short side. But also I recently released a live reaction to me watching the finale of Ahsoka. Just legitimately one of the times where I felt something didn't deserve a script, and I just decided to record it on a whim, and I just ended up throwing it up. So if anyone checks that out, let me know if I should continue doing that for anything else, because it's not usually something I do. But yeah, definitely a Marvel video coming out soon, and maybe something in between. And I'm trying to get live streaming going a little bit more often.
Yeah, we're trying.
Trying. When I get a little bit more organized with that and understand the tech side of it, I'll be definitely doing some like horror stuff on Sundays every once in a while. Supernatural Sundays.
Supernatural Sunday. Copyrighted. Nobody can steal that fucking name.
Patent. Yeah, there we go. Just make sure we get it in. So no take that
you gotta always say
patent pending
at the end.
Patent pending. There we go.
Yep. So Dark Hour, plug your shit.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat, but not quite as Platoon. I'm just kind of like waiting until the Marvels. But I did release my first half of Loki season 2 review, which apparently a lot of people are mad at me. At least the ones that are commenting are not happy with the way that I didn't like it. And I was like, well, my favorite thing that happens in those things is when someone's like, who told you your opinion matters? Your opinion sucks. And I'm like, you realize that's your opinion that you're telling, like you're completely hypocritical right now. But
my favorite ones are the ones who say that you're completely wrong because all art is subjective.
Yes, that's a great one.
You seem to have missed the definition.
I've always loved absolute relativism.
So yeah,
they just throw out terms that they don't really understand in like a knee-jerk defense of shit.
So it was the first half of it. It's a format I'm trying out where I at the halfway point I'm reviewing the show, and then at the end I'm going to kind of react to my own video and see if like my problems and or praises were addressed or continued.
Is it going to be a proper reaction, or is it going to be an XQC reaction? You know, or you just leave the chair and that's pretty much it.
No, I'm actually gonna. I've never done like a reaction style before, so it's probably gonna be terrible. But I'm gonna give it a shot, and I don't think they're gonna be fixed though. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and assume that they're not going to. So.
All the fake, stupid, cringy Ahsoka reactions was part of the reason I released mine. It was like, let me just give you a genuine one of me legit.
I should. What I have to do is, I just thought of it. I have to like at the end of it, I have to be like, it's so beautiful, and start crying, and then like just have my camera pan down. I'm cutting an onion. Would be fantastic.
Dude, make sure that you're shirtless too, man. Make sure that you're showing off all the abs and all that stuff. So
dude, I haven't had abs in ever. At one point I weighed 165 pounds at the height of my competition days, and I was like, why can't I get abs? I had like,
dude, you need to cut.
I had like 3% body fat, and I was like, I still don't have abs. What's going on?
And let me just take this opportunity to back up, vouch for Dark Hour's martial art background for anyone who doesn't believe him on that. If you've trained with Ryan Hall, then you know your shit.
Yeah,
he would strangle 80 to 90% of YouTubers. Let me just throw that out.
I trained with Ryan Hall. I've trained with a lot of big names. Not like with extended periods of time, but like I've trained with them on like he was a pro fighter, so he had his own.
I know exactly who he is. I know how dangerous he is. I've been a UFC fan for like almost 20 years, and yeah. I know that's legit.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. You
just to vouch for him, because one of the few people who can on there. Let me throw that in there.
You see Tom Hardy in Warrior. That's basically Dark Hour. You know, he's undercover. You know?
minus the being arrested.
So yeah, man. That's it for Dark Hour then. So I guess it's up to me and. Let me just look up 1 second. Oh yeah, so we crossed 4,400 subscribers last week. Thank you guys so much. Just wanted to say big thank you, and we're almost at 4,500, which we'll probably cross in about 2 days or so, by my estimations. So man, thank you guys for the continual support, and I am officially back after not posting a video for 4 fucking months. Because I got a new computer, ladies and gentlemen. I have a proper fucking gaming laptop to edit. And yeah, these videos are going to be flying out, which is probably also
which means that your subscriber base will drop because you got more subscribers not posting anything.
Yes.
You should have just continued that. You had hacked the system. You had made it work. You're like, I don't have to post anything. I'll just keep getting subscribers.
Dude, YouTube just threw me a bone. They were like, you know what? Fuck it. This dude he's suffering with his laptop. You're just give him a bunch of subs. But yeah, so a couple of announcements. So yeah, I've got my new zombie video that's up, and which
they're coming again. They're coming again. They heard about his laptop.
Oh, yeah.
They're
coming to get me.
No, that's me, sorry.
Oh.
Dude, the only black dude that has like police everywhere on him, that's it.
Uninspired said he got a new laptop. He didn't say he paid for it.
Ooh. So yeah, guys, I just released the first video in a couple of months. It's actually like a remastered edition of the first ever T-Wars Private Stash that I made. So T-Wars Private Stash are the top 10, top 5 videos that I do. It's on the zombie movies. And yeah, it premiered today, so you can check that out. My next review will be The Marvels, which, fuck yeah, I'm waiting for. However, the next video that I have is going to be my top 10 horror movies. This is not going to be a remaster. This is going to be a brand new one. And however, I'm not going to be releasing it before Halloween. That's physically fucking impossible for me to do. So I'm aiming on the 7th of November release, just before the Marvels. And now that I've got the new PC as well, I can properly work on the Scream retrospective and the Old Boy analysis that I've been working on for a couple of months now. So yeah. And you guys should probably follow me on Twitter. I mean, follow all these guys on Twitter. Maybe except Jedi Brooks and Jay Goodwin, because you guys are never on Twitter. But
yeah. I gotta start using that. Honestly, I got Twitter just to bitch about copyright. Just like I just that's how it started for me. And man,
you might as well just go outside and bitch about it. It's for all the good it's gonna do.
That's actually the only other time I've spoken to Platoon. Me and him are like the only ones I see bitching at these stupid robots.
They're like, hey, I hate copyright bullshit too.
Like, are there any humans? Are there any humans that work here? And I'm like, I was glad to see he was like actually saying something too. I'm like, no one else. Why is anyone being more vocal about this? I've yet to talk to a human being at YouTube, so it's kind of frustrating. But what can you do?
And so yeah, I am on a lot of live streams. Maybe I will cut down because I'm finally going back into video making. But yeah, so it's easier to follow me on Twitter because I announce those there instead of on the community tab. I'm not really on the community tab. And in terms of two hosts, I do have a couple of things to say. We do have the re-upload channel, so subscribe to that in case you guys aren't already. We upload everything over there. This video is going to stay up on my channel till Wednesday. Then it's going to go on the re-upload channel. And of course, Dark Hour already said that he's going to throw out all of his archival stuff, and it's going to be on Two Host channel also. And for those that keep asking me about the Two Host schedule in terms of the date, the film, and on whose channel it is, all of that is on the Two Host channel in the description. So you've got the date, you've got the month, the date, and then you've got the movie that we're covering and whose channel it's on. So all of that is over there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me in terms of plugging stuff for myself and Two Hosts. And just want to say thank you to all the guests for coming. Really, really appreciate you guys for spending, 3.5 hours of your time talking about Shaun of the Dead with us, especially, Halloween special. And want to thank the chat as well. Thank you guys all for coming. I see all of you guys are awesome. And I think that's pretty much it for me. Anyone have anything else that they want to say just before we leave? No? Yes, no?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh,
Man.
welcome,
Yeah,
man.
I think I have one thing I want to say. I think we have to bring all three guests back for Hot Fuzz now. I think that's going to have to be a thing.
Yeah,
time. So, yeah.
We referenced it like 10 times.
I'll figure out where it fits into the schedule, and we'll definitely work that in.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Just want to say thank you once again to the chat, man. Thank you once again to the panel. I say thank you a lot because I really beat it. And Dark Hour, you're the outro man, and special outro for Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. See ya.